Welcome, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me, see me. I think we should be rolling. We should be rolling. Now, this is a different live stream than usual. We're good? We're good? Okay, this is a different live stream than usual. Today, we're going to be reacting to an interview that was done with the Pokemon Go director, Michael Steranka. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be watching the whole video. It's about an hour and a half. So, you know, if you're going to be busy, you can come back and watch it after because I will leave the VOD up for other people to watch if they'd like to see. We're going to be watching it, having a conversation, seeing what it's all about, you know, reacting to the answers that are given. I have already looked at the interview briefly. I scrubbed through it at double speed. So I've seen most of it. I have some points I want to make about it, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say. So feel free to engage in the conversation and let us know like what you think about all this stuff. Let me just get this here. What's it called? Zoe 2 dots. Let me get this here. I'm gonna get it going here on the screen for everybody to watch. We want to hit the gritty. Okay, let's not what the stream's about. We're not hitting the gritty today, chat. We're not hitting the gritty. But what's up, Darlin, Jesse? I see you guys in here. Shout out, shout out. Hello. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let me just pull this up real quick. Turn off this music. And then I had to make this real quick. Does this look decent? This looks decent, right? You guys have to tell me if you can hear this. It's muted. Put this on.
I got a message from Michael Steranka, a director for Pokemon Go at Niantic. He expressed interest in an...
Okay, can you hear that? I just want to confirm chat can hear that. Sorry. Let me just pull the chat to the side here so I can actually read chat. One sec. Pop out chat. Good here. Not too loud. Okay. Let's do it. Here we go.
Last week I got a message from Michael Steranka, a director for Pokemon Go at Niantic. He expressed interest in an interview, and given the recent community outcry for more communication from Niantic, I couldn't really pass the chance. Considering this involved him...
Okay, first thing I'm going to say, and there's this huge thing that's going around, is that this was kind of like a PR stunt from Niantic, in which, like, you can clearly see here, they point out that... He points out that he messaged him. He said, would you be interested? I'm not sure if this is the real message. It probably is. Would you be interested? He's reaching out. So people think it's a PR stunt. What I will say is whether it's a PR stunt, whether this is set up by Niantic, of course it's PR stunt. One thing I will say is I'm happy this interview did happen because I think there should be more stuff like this. There should be more stuff like this, in my opinion, which we get interviews, whether it's for Niantic's benefit or not. I still think that this is a good thing that we're getting interviews. We'll see. It's a theory. It's a theory. Again, you can't really prove it's a PR stunt or not. It does seem like a PR stunt, but we'll go. And she is sponsored by Niantic. She is, I don't know if Zoe's fully sponsored. I think I'm not 100% sure how the creator partner works, but I think it's like you get early access to info, but I think that's about it. I don't know if they fly people out anymore.
For more communication from Niantic,
let's just keep watching.
I couldn't really pass the chance. Considering this involved him flying from the USA to Australia, meeting with local trainers, playing the launch of the Shiny Shadow Mewtwo raids, doing this interview, and then going back home within 48 hours, this was a crazy turnaround time in my mind. For complete transparency, I've met Michael a handful of times at a few Pokemon Go events.
I've never met Michael.
But I can confidently say over the last 5 years, we have had maybe 2 hours of conversation.
Okay, so she doesn't know
full stop, collectively, face to face. 5 years, 2 hours of conversation. So going into this interview, I didn't have any sort of bias to protect a friend or anything like that. I was honestly even skeptical why Michael had reached out to me, you know, given that we don't really know each other. And out of all the other creators he could choose to speak to, why speak to me or reach out to me? But
I think because she's Australian, right? I think their whole plan was to go out to Australia. So
over the last 48 hours, Michael and I have had almost uninterrupted face-to-face contact and communication.
It's hard to say if they're sponsored because, again, I don't exactly know how the sponsorship works, and Zoe has made it clear that, like, in multiple videos that she does, like, I will say personally, I like to trust the creators that they all have morals enough to speak their own mind. You know what I mean? And they can't be bought off. Like, I like to trust that people are like that nowadays. No one really, honestly, it's not really a thing personally, at least for me. That was never something I would do because I feel like you wouldn't be able to live with yourself if you were just being bought off by a company all the time.
About not just
but again, it's
Pokemon Go, but life in general, getting to know one another, thoughts, feelings, values in life. And I can now comfortably
Zoe's
say
not the Pokemon
that I
character.
do genuinely believe that this interview is coming from a place of integrity and
Okay.
passion, not only for
I don't know
Pokemon
Michael,
Go,
so I don't know
but for the
what to
trainers
think
that make
about
up
this.
our community. This video is a long one. We cover a wide variety of topics. I do appreciate as well your understanding as the viewer that there will be
I'm gonna
some
try not to
questions that
pause it
Michael
too much
can't
'cause it is pretty
answer,
long.
but I do hope that the general depth of conversation is still insightful and meaningful to you. I'd really appreciate any feedback in the comments at the end of the video, either for Michael or myself. And I do hope this is
Yeah,
something we
Zoe
can do
said
again
it's
in the
non-sponsored
future.
video. I would
So
agree. I don't think it's
let's jump into
sponsored.
it.
Oh, okay. Yo, we're gonna be getting them ads. Ad number 1, count it. Oh, that's loud. Non-skippable. 10-second ads, Zoe. Whoa. Oh,
When you're launching a new
not-
product
oh,
with
the
a
second
tight
skippable.
deadline,
2 weeks?
Grammarly's tone suggestions
Yo, I don't got that YouTube Premium, bro. Should I get it? Is it worth?
It's like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get
do
into
it.
it.
I believe in you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, this
So-
is Michael Stranka, the
So
Pokemon Go
depending how you answer
director.
these questions.
To be honest, I didn't even know about this person until like that one thing. I feel like Niantic reps and they're not that vocal. The only one I really know is Kelsey. Yeah, they're not that vocal. It's not worth it. Ad blocker.
Good morning, lovelies.
Gotta support them creators, chat.
How are we doing?
Gotta support
We have got
creators.
the lovely Michael Starenka from Niantic. Welcome to Australia.
Yo, home slice,
first of
what's up,
all.
bro?
Thank you. I'm a little jet lagged right now.
Yo, I have that
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
mic.
A
I'm
bit
happy
of
to
a
point that out right now.
Wild turnaround. You're in and
The
out
little
within 2
DJI mic.
days.
Yep. Yeah.
Very graciously have decided to let me interrogate you. So
Yeah. Yeah. You know, we thought it was
The room feels tense.
important to be able to
feels
you know,
tense. Even
talk through
Zoe
some
looks
things.
a
I know
little
that there's
bit-
been a lot of chatter and whatnot lately within the community. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, 2 main reasons for coming out here. One, we haven't had the best track record, I think, with a lot of big launches
Factual.
and events and whatnot, especially in the earlier regions of the world. And so really wanted to put boots on the ground and make sure everything went smoothly today with the Shadow Mewtwo raids.
Okay.
And if things didn't go smoothly, actually be like physically there and accountable for, you know, making sure everything.
How does okay? I understand that, but also how does having him there? Is he able to like? Is the video sound so loud? Sorry. Let me turn down the video sound. How is he able to change anything when he's there? I'm not sure.
Could get turned around.
PokAK for this interview.
But then also,
PokAK
yeah,
would've
wanted to
got
be able
into
to
it.
have a conversation with you and maybe answer some questions that you and folks in the community
Yeah.
have been wanting to
Yes.
ask Niantic.
yeah. So that's the
I should have
reason
asked the
behind
question.
cryptic tweet
I have a
the
lot of
other day
questions.
saying if you could ask Niantic any question, what would it be? So I've got a list here. Some of mine. Some of
Yeah,
the
I saw
community.
that. I saw that
Shout out
post,
to
but
the
I was
person
like,
who said you could ask.
that feels
Michael
just like a
Starenka,
random
but he won't
tweet.
respond. I got him, so he hopefully will respond. So
I will
take
say
that.
Michael is very vocal on Twitter, which I do appreciate. There's not a lot of people that you can talk to from Niantic, but Michael actually has a Twitter and is actively responding to
random
things. I
person
guess
on the
he's the
internet, but
director.
yeah, jump into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, easy. So first one was, does Niantic actually listen
let's
to
see.
community feedback? And if so, why does it seem like the team's a bit out of touch with the community or not communicating with the community?
Yeah.
Oh, getting
out of the
into
gate
it.
with the
Straight, that was
hard-hitting-
the most common one. It was the most...
Yeah,
Okay, well,
we
yeah.
absolutely do listen
A little
to
cut
community
there.
feedback.
I
And,
don't know if that's important, but
it might come from different places than what people might expect. But as a recent example, right, the addition of the number of players in your raid lobby nearby was a direct result of player
Yeah.
feedback that they wanted to see that information.
one thing I will say about that update is that update was a lot more useful when remote raids were out. It's not as useful when you're not going to run to a
before
raid that's
committing
far
to,
away.
You know, going to a raid and things like that. But at least within Niantic, when we talk about community and community feedback, it's not something that we want to only be looking at and listening to what's said on social media. And we actually have an entire user research team who
Okay.
is able to work
It was
with a
overdue, I
broad set
agree.
of players.
Overdue update.
You know, hardcore level 50 people, players who are maybe a little bit more casual and only play a couple times a week.
How do they get these people though? I'm curious. If it's not only online, like, do you knock on people's door?
During community day, or someone who just started Pokemon Go last month and is
Right.
still sort of like learning the ropes on things. And that user research team collects feedback from this whole
User research team.
range
I
of
actually have heard of
players
this user
in order
research team.
to give us a balanced set of,
Are you watching the full
of
video? I will.
thinking that influences a lot of the decisions that we make in the game.
Is that a mix of like, I guess, city players, rural players,
Yes.
like levels,
Yep.
backgrounds, diversity?
All types of
Okay.
folks.
This just feels like a very
Pokemon
vague
Go has such
answer,
a
'cause they can't really
diverse
give us
player base
exactly
at its
how they
core,
take
right? When you
feedback.
go out to an event, no two trainers look alike, I feel like.
No, it's it is definitely.
Yeah, and it is one of those things where
I've seen two trainers
it's
that
kind of
look alike.
unfortunate, I think, that sometimes the way that social media is designed puts people into echo chambers where you're seeing other like-minded
That is a decent
thoughts
point.
from
I don't know
other
if it
people that
fully
have
is strong here, because
share the same opinion as you.
the echo
And that
chamber thing
can
is a real thing on
oftentimes
social media,
come
especially because like when you chat, like especially on Twitter, like the algorithm, the more you comment on a certain thing, the more of that thing you're gonna have. But also, I don't think
off
it's
as
fully.
This is what the entire player base is feeling and thinking, and
I guess in a way as well, like the typical thing is
The problem is Niantic's a private company, so they can't. We don't have info on how much money they make every year. It's all predicted, how many active players, all that stuff. Like none of it is out there. So Niantic can just say, "Oh, not like," even if all the internet is saying, change this, change that, this is our feedback, they can be like, "Oh, well, that's only 70% of, or that's only 10% of our player base," because we don't have the numbers of what the actual
the
player base
silent
is.
majority, the vocal minority
Right.
for certain things, or if someone, for me personally, I almost have never
Silent
commented
minority.
on a YouTube video in my life ever,
Right.
where it's like I might love this content, whatever else,
Right.
but I've never commented.
Right.
And then so from my experience,
So you got to comment, you got to support the
I
creators.
could be a diehard fan of something, love something, hate something, but
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily going to leave the feedbacks. The people who do are clearly
Right.
engaged.
I think if
or
you like something
passionate.
enough, you're going to give feedback.
Super
I don't know
passionate.
about that.
And because of that,
But I guess it
you
is
don't
easier
wanna
to
ever
comment hate
discount
than
that
positive
feedback
stuff,
that
I
we
guess. I don't
see.
know.
But I do want people to know that that's not the only perspective
Right.
to consider with the different decisions that we make.
Yeah. Is that team as well, I guess, that gives you guys feedback? Is it on all aspects of the game?
I think you have to weigh the feedback. How many people are saying each thing? I think that is like, when it comes to corporation feedback, I think it always comes down to like, how many people want this change, versus how many people. If 80% of the people want this, then that's probably a good change to make. But if versus only 10% of the player base wants this, then that's a good feedback to make. You know what I mean? Like, I think you got to build for the majority. I don't know.
For feedback?
It's kind of hard, I
Like,
guess.
Yeah,
or
got a
do you guys
script?
at least
typically
most.
like ask about a current thing?
Yeah, I guess
Do you
usually
think you got a
current or
script?
upcoming
Is that a
things.
script on the phone, or
and
is that
also,
Twitter?
To be clear on that, it's not like the same group of people. We're constantly refreshing and
Okay.
bringing new people in, rolling people out.
Zoe does look uncomfortable.
Because it is important for us to be able to understand.
I
how
would be
players
uncomfortable with the
experience
Pokemon Go
game
director. That's
from
a big dog.
Different,
I don't know.
walks of life.
Do you find that it often, like, that group's feedback does, I mean, obviously there'd be overlap with the social media feedback. Do you find there is, the variation or extremes that things you haven't considered, or?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't the research group, though, technically social media because it's all online? Because if it's online, that's technically internet feedback, right? It's the same thing as social media
Yeah.
feedback.
Thought about?
Is
Yeah.
it not?
Yeah, definitely. And there are lots of things that
Say something wrong,
we
account
would've never
banned.
thought
They
of
ban Zoe's
unless
account right
we've
there.
Heard this from players.
No shot.
So, yeah, it's probably one of the hardest things about working on Pokemon Go is the fact that we have such a diverse player base, and we're trying to tune the game and
Yeah, that's one thing I
balance
will
the
say. You
game
can't make
to,
everybody happy.
Support.
I think
so
you
many
can make
different
the majority
people
happy, but
from, different places. Different
Pokemon Go, I will
backgrounds.
say, Pokemon Go is a weird game in which it's like very, very political. It's very political because it's not just a video game that you sit at home. it's like there's a lot of other aspects
preferences
involved.
in terms of how they want to play the game.
Not trying to say like they're doing a good job or like whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
a very tough thing
pointing
to
a fact.
Yeah, I guess like following in from that, because my assumption always
How long
was
is
that
this?
yes, you guys are listening.
I gotta stop pausing. We're 8
But
minutes in.
I guess I feel like that you can't always comment publicly. Is
Right.
that just something where it's just the nature of running a business, whatever else? Like you can't always
Jesse.
comment on everything.
Yeah.
Or you would like to comment more.
Yeah,
but
no matter what, someone will be
there's
unhappy.
other roadblocks, or
I think so.
Sorry, I
you
missed
know,
that question.
Recently in an interview, I made a comment around we really think that actions speak louder than words.
Yes, everybody knows that interview, bro.
And that's
That's
something
the
that
one
I
where you said you're not
personally
going to listen to
believe,
Here's
and,
Niantic.
you know, I don't want to be put in a situation where it just becomes an endless public debate.
Did he get like PR training? I don't know if he's that smooth with his answers because he's like
dialogue with players, and that doesn't mean that we're not listening and we're not hearing the feedback, but we really want the team to be laser focused on what's next and what are we going to do in the game to bring more excitement and newness.
but you have to listen to
Rather
the
than talking
feedback
about actually
if you want to
doing
know
the
it.
thing sort of
So
thing.
that's
Yep.
pretty much just
Yeah,
saying that
exactly.
we're laser focused
but
on
it's
just
tough, and
continuing
and
to.
I do think that there
up
probably
the
is
game,
more
but
that we
not-
can do on
but
the
like how we
communication
want.
front. It's part of why I'm here, today talking to you, because I feel like that there are valid criticisms for us in terms of what we're able, what we have done to share and have that dialogue with players.
Problem is there's no dialogue. I think what it seems like, and I think a huge problem with Niantic is that there's so much feedback coming in, but there's like very little proof that they ever even listen to it. Because when a feedback comes in, like the example he gave earlier, where it's the change for the above the raids, it shows you how many people. That change has been talked about for 3-4 years. Well, since raids, maybe 2 years, 2-3 years. Like, and you're finally adding it now. It just makes it feel like you guys are not listening to the feedback until you have to like crack and do it. Because
around the interaction distances, there's dev diaries, conversations with community
dev
leaders.
diaries.
I think the dev diaries just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
Are those on the cards to come back? Are they not a priority?
Yeah, great question again.
yes,
So
it is a very
the dev
good question.
diaries actually ended up being quite a larger lift than I think we initially anticipated. And to be honest, a lot of the feedback that we got from players was mixed at best, with a lot of that stuff.
The feedback, I think the feedback for the dev diaries was that they weren't like actual dev diaries. They were just them like talking about features. People wanted more like detailed stuff. I think the only good dev diary was the PvP one. All the other ones was about like artwork and stuff.
And
Mixed at best.
yeah, the sort of like
Everybody,
effort that
bro,
we were putting
there's a
into them
reason
versus
we want
it not
dev
really feeling like
diaries.
it matched what players were hoping for or expecting didn't quite add up.
But that doesn't mean you stop doing them because they're too much work.
I do think we probably should have.
Yeah,
gone
we are
out
grateful,
with at
Viper, that we
least
got an
an
interview. I'm just
announcement or a
commenting on it.
confirmation that like, hey, we're going to be adjusting the cadence of these. We might be slowing them down. I will say we still have a desire to continue producing dev diaries, but instead of sort of a arbitrary cadence of every other month.
You have to announce that. You have to. If you're gonna make a promise to the community to do dev diaries, and then you're just gonna be like, nah, you're not just gonna blindly stop that. That looks so bad for you guys, because it was literally a huge moment. Oh, you have to announce that.
We'll want to
at least like a Niantic support tweet,
and we have something to
timely
talk about.
Fitting the thing.
Zoe's like,
Exactly.
this is a trash answer.
That's fair.
So
Is
yes,
it fair,
I do
Zoe?
think dev diaries will come back at a certain point.
No
We just
hate
wanna
to
make sure
Zoe.
that
like, I'm
it's something that
respect
will
for her
be
coming
useful
out
and good
and doing
information
this.
for players to have.
Yeah, for sure. I think I remember one of the first ones was, I think it was you talking about com
Yeah.
days and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think especially at that time, the expectation was like, why are we talking about com
Right.
days? Like it'd be more insightful to hear,
Right.
Yes.
even like the PvP community or something where it's like talking about a bit more in depth or what
Yeah,
goes
we got
into
that.
certain decisions.
What's your
So
answer?
I think if that is what future ones were,
No,
especially,
pass it off. Pass it back to him.
informative.
Yeah.
Why did
insightful
you
for
do the first one
community
about
as well,
com
where it's
days?
like, oh, I didn't know that's how that worked or
Yeah.
why that is the way it is. So
I agree.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So and that is, you know, the direction that we do want to take
Okay.
the dev diaries, but yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how heavy of a lift those can.
Bro,
can
you're a
sometimes
billion-dollar
be, and,
company. It's not
we
heavy of
wanna
a
make sure
lift.
that
You
when
hire
we're putting
some
the effort
people.
into those, that players are actually getting information that you find useful.
question about
You're a billion-dollar company.
Niantic. What would you think is your biggest challenge day to day working?
Just
in
hire
your
a
role at
team for them.
Niantic?
How much can it be? Oh my.
Yeah, biggest challenge I think is Pokemon Go is a game that like never sleeps, right?
Very true.
there's sort of always something
What was the
happening.
question? Biggest
either in
challenge
terms of
working at Niantic?
events that we're putting together or
That's
you
not
know
what I wanna
real
hear.
world things happening
Yo, what's up,
around the
Mystic?
world.
Yeah.
I don't know many other games out there, if any, where the developers actually don't have control of, you know, their own game board. And
True.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
having to sort of like always be on and
Oh, we just talked to all the
respond
governments. You can control
different
everything.
things happening globally,
Hmm.
different crises or whatever, and adjusting the
That is very
gameplay
true.
accordingly.
Again, like I
Probably
said
one of
before,
the
like
biggest
Niantic is a
challenges, but I
political
also
game.
think one
It's
of the
weird.
most fun challenges and unique things about working on a game like Pokemon Go. And yeah, just working with the incredible team that we have to try to think of new creative ways to keep players excited and
just
happy and
look at the
wanting
feedback.
to play the
He always comes back to like looking at his team, which I understand you have to talk with your team about it, but you also need to look at the feedback. Like
game on
the amount of video ideas I get from my community is insane.
a regular basis and integrate it into your life.
Yeah.
We're coming on, you know, our 7th anniversary soon. So operating a game like this for that long is really tough, and you want to keep things fresh and exciting for people, and it can be very hard to do.
Yeah, it's hard, but also like Pokemon Go is such a unique game that I don't think they're really in any space where it's like you're ever gonna just one day like it's gonna be a slow death of the
This
game,
far
like I
along,
said.
and especially, like I said, in a game where we don't even all the time like have full control over the space that, you know, we're designing
Yeah.
the experience in. So
That's
yeah,
fair.
that's probably the most challenging thing, I would say.
Maybe
What was it? So his answer was like the game board's always changing.
wild, like actually thinking about that, like an actual wild challenge of like most games. It's like, does the person have an internet connection?
Right.
And what new skins are we dropping for
Yep.
this theme? As
Yeah.
opposed to, there's a wildfire in Australia right now. Do we need to turn the spawns off so no one goes hunting in a bushfire?
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Decent point.
I'm gonna jump into remote raid passes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes.
So
Give me that sauce. Oh. No, the ads, chat. What is this ad for? Yo, I'm giving Google free ads right now. Should I get that YouTube Premium right now? Hold up, man. We gotta give.
I wear a
we
few
gotta
different
support
hats
Zoe out.
as CFO.
Whatever hat CFOs like Imran need to wear, same
this is a question from the community,
Okay,
where many in
community.
the community have said that the remote raid pass changes wouldn't have been so bad if the price hadn't increased so dramatically.
Right.
Yes.
What was the reason behind imposing both a limit and a price increase?
Yeah, yeah. So obviously the two main changes we made to remote raid passes were, number one, we put a daily
That's some PR stuff right there. When you get asked a question and then you reiterate it,
count
that's
on how many
that feels
you can
very
use,
PR.
5 per day. I think the reason for that should hopefully be obvious to most players, right? Like it kind of introduced this
Is it
really
obvious?
unhealthy play pattern in some of, you know, our most dedicated players who could, you know, just
Why you gotta? But by punishing those people, you're punishing everybody else. So they made that change just because of the hardcore players were raiding too much. Was that the full reason for it?
dozens, sometimes hundreds of legendary battle or legendary raids
Yeah.
from home every day, and we really had to put a cap on that because, you know, that's not really what we've ever envisioned for the game. But in terms of the price, that was actually an effort from us to
Effort.
price those items where we feel like
He's,
the
like,
actual
dancing
value
right
offered
now.
to players is. I think, you know, if we were kind of honest with ourselves, or if I asked
He's
you
really making sure he doesn't say the wrong thing right now.
honestly, if you felt like 100 Pokecoins for remote raid pass was appropriately priced compared to the other items we have in the game,
Yes.
I think people would generally agree, right? That like
My personal take is that they have more value and power than a regular remote raid pass.
Okay, but do they have 2 times the value and power? They have 2 times the value and power.
I think I
or
mentioned
a
this
regular
before.
raid
Sorry,
pass, yeah.
regular raid pass,
Right.
yeah. Whereas a regular raid pass, I have to go to the location, have to put on, take off the pajama pants, put
Yep.
on the real world pants, and go to the place.
Yeah.
Versus I
Zoe
could
wears
just,
pajamas
I
confirmed.
could be literally in the bath eating grapes and do a remote raid.
Right.
Like
right.
most relaxed you've ever been in your life.
That's
So
why you do remote raids,
there's
Zoe?
a definite, like, yeah, you're paying for the convenience sort of thing. I think from my side of things, like the amount.
Okay, but why don't you just drop the price of regular raids then? Why did the remote raids have to go up? Just drop the
That
other
it went
stuff.
up, I thought was probably a bit
Yes.
more. I might not personally evaluate it that. I have not bought a remote raid pass
Okay. Yeah.
since the change personally.
Zoe
'cause
agrees.
to
I
me
think
that
195
value
way
doesn't
too
line up
much.
for how I rate. I'm not
Theoretically, it
a
does
raid
make
either,
sense.
so
Remote raids are a little bit more
I know
broken.
everyone's got a different
So maybe they could be like
situation.
125, but 195?
But I
No
do
way
think
that's
it is
that
a more
much
powerful
value.
tool than a regular raid pass.
Yep.
So
Yep. And so in terms of the price change, I think we can probably debate about what the true value of a remote raid pass is. But ultimately, you know, with that, you're getting access to legendary Pokemon, tons of XP, tons of Stardust, more rare candies than you know what to do with.
yeah.
And all for like very little effort, right? The whole way we've designed any other premium item in the game was built so that you can't just be a whale in Pokemon Go and throw a bunch of money at, you know,
Yeah.
the things that you want and get as much of it as possible. If you want to buy premium battle passes, you have to organize, you know, groups of players to go out and raid
Oh, so you don't only have to spend money, but you also have to put in a lot of effort to be successful.
together. If you purchase incubators, you actually have to go and
Bro,
you know
that
walk.
Banner
to,
with
to
the
hatch
15
eggs.
donor right now. Hope this is
everything
something
that
I-
we do.
I think I'm gonna get
isn't
YouTube
just
Premium
something
after
that,
this.
you
I
know,
appreciate
You
it.
should be able to pay for and get, and that is essentially what remote raid passes ended up becoming. And so we felt like we needed to price it accordingly for the value that we felt it was providing for players. But what I'll say on that, which I don't think we maybe did a good job communicating with the initial announcement of this, is by having the remote raid passes priced at where we feel like the true value is, similar to every other premium item in the game, that means that we're also able to provide steeper discounts through bundles and
Right.
things of that nature.
Okay.
So
Homie said they give good discounts. Bro, we haven't had a good box. This is what I'm going to say right now, okay, about this whole thing. They don't want whales, okay? First of all, they think remote raid passes are priced more because they're a stronger item. And the whole point of this is because they don't want people to be able to abuse them for low price. But capping it at 5 a day already limits that item and nerfs that item. It already limits and nerfs that item. So even if it is a stronger item than a raid pass, and it was reflected by being 125, right? Because I think the raid passes were 125 before they were originally 100 and they went to 125. They're limited. Also, technically the raid passes are even because now there's bonuses in which in-person raids get you 3 guaranteed XL candies. So in-person raids are actually better rewards than remote raid passes. So theoretically, they should be priced the same because you can raid from anywhere for this one, but you get more rewards for this one. So I'm thinking like even maybe nerf the rewards of remote raid passes and then they can be the same price. There's no need to keep increasing the price for the pass. Just maybe nerf like things you get from remote raid passes instead of making it like impossible for the average player to buy one.
I think that that's something that players can expect to see in the future.
That's my opinion.
Bundles that include remote raid
I
passes.
do understand what he's meaning. Like remote raid passes are easier to use than regular raid passes, but there's other ways to do it than just drastically increase the price. Like nerf some things that you get from a raid passes so that yes, you're getting the legendary, but you don't get as many rewards. So a regular raid pass is still technically stronger because the rewards are better.
Get you really great discounts compared to where it might be priced at from an individual item SKU. And that's very similar to how we approach all the other items, right? If you buy a bundle that has super incubators,
bundles.
you get a huge discount on
Yes, if
how you
split it down per item, sort of
Exactly.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how that breaks down.
yeah
with each one's, yeah.
yeah.
Sure. I'm gonna follow on from
Oh my god, white
the
balance change.
remote rate pass thing
Sure.
for more remote rate pass.
Everybody
things.
turned red.
This is a me.
Did they turn a light
question,
on? Is
Okay.
that
me
why?
thing. So for me and from my perspective, a remote rate pass serves two very different functions. Where
Right.
it serves a tool of need and a tool of want.
Yeah, Zoe doesn't agree
where
with
there are
it. Remote
people
rate
in the
passes need to be
community who
nerfed.
need remote rate
but
passes,
how they did
whether
is
it be
way too much.
disability, accessibility,
Good point.
safety,
Yep.
those sorts of things. And then the people who want, where it's
Yeah,
fun
you're
to
not
rate with my
guaranteed to
friends
catch it
online,
either.
it's
Right.
fun to rate from the couch, whatever else.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you can't nerf one without nerfing the other.
Oh, okay. This is about physical
I
disabilities.
guess what sort of discussions were had around that or accessibility when the changes were made for remote rate passes?
Yeah, I think that's always sort of the tension at the core of Pokemon Go, right? Is this,
Yeah.
vision of encouraging players
so
to
much when you try
get
to think
out
of
in
what
the
he's gonna
real
say.
world and discover the sort of magic that happens when you go out and do that. And like you mentioned, we can't serve one without sort of nerfing the other in
What's up,
terms
Ben?
of the want versus the need. And unfortunately,
So which one's more important, want or need? You know what I mean? Like, which one do you go? It's like the whole thing is like changing one thing to help one group will like allow for other people to abuse it. You know what I
fortunately,
mean?
for a game like Pokemon Go, you do have to sort of make that trade-off. We have no way to motivate people to actually go out and play if you can enjoy the entire experience from the comfort of your home. And
But you can't. It's like limited to 5 a day.
I know that disproportionately impacts people based on where you are and what your personal situation is. But we believe that by having these experiences that you have to go out to fully enjoy, you're able to enjoy the game and the world around you so much more than any other video game can provide. And when we think about Pokemon Go, in the entire universe of Pokemon games and ways to experience that franchise, Go's pillar is always going to be one that's rooted in outside exploration. And there are tons of other Pokemon games or anime or
He's pretty much just saying, go play another game right now.
movies or whatever that you can watch and play and enjoy from home. And we think that market is
But it's different, bro. It's not your own life. That it's a different
served
game.
better with those games, right? That are built on the Switch or other mobile games that are designed to
Time is
be
it?
enjoyed from the couch.
They're different games. You can't just tell people to go play other Pokemon games because there's difference in them.
And we don't
This is a free-to-play game as well. Not everybody can get the Switch and the other
want
games.
to compete with those experiences. And, for
You're not competing. It's a different game. The battling's different. The catching's different.
us, it's always going to be about location matters in Pokemon Go. And
I hate that argument where it's like, go play another game because it's not the same game. People want to play Pokemon Go because it's Pokemon Go. It's your life. You're the adventure. You go on. You catch Pokemon. It's simple. You can catch multiple Pokemon. There's IVs, shiny hunting, community days. Where's community day in Scarlet and Violet?
kind of have to stick with that.
It's not the
Do you
same
feel like
game.
that's ever at odds with your, like, I guess your personally or the company? Like, obviously you want to have an inclusive player base.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that, I guess, core tenet
you wanna
of
have an
Niantic
inclusive
is just
player
always
base?
going to be a conflict with that because you guys want to encourage the outdoor play?
Right.
Getting outside and meeting people, it's just always going to, in some ways, clash with.
Yep. And to be clear, right, we have built a lot of features and things in the game that help players who might live in rural areas or aren't able to go out as much. We've introduced daily spawns. We've increased the total number of spawns in the game, no matter where you are.
Daily
Pretty
spawns
considerably
Bro,
over the
it's one
years.
spawn.
We introduced the Team Go rocket balloons.
It's true.
We
The
removed
increase in rules was nice.
walking requirement to participate in GBL. Daily adventure incense. Right. There's sort of a wide range of ways that you can now engage with Pokemon Go, no matter where you are. But
Just won't use it
ultimately,
to the same extent, obviously.
right.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
Some
we can't just
trashy
have
stuff.
everything in the game be available at
wanna
home,
go
or
outside.
else
Why aren't they doing this
human
interview
nature sort of
outside?
dictates that you aren't going to leave, right? It's so much more convenient and easy to do that.
Okay.
And like you mentioned,
But why does it have to
sometimes
be
it's
5 a
want
day?
versus
Like 5 is
need.
like 10 minutes of
And
gameplay. If you want people to play to some extent, like limit it to like 15 or 20. Because then that stops the whales, but still allow people to have like a decent experience. At least potentially get a shiny.
Really about the remote raid passes, there's a big reason why, we didn't just like remove the item from the game outright.
Right.
Remote
So
raid
keeping
passes,
them in there to have the option for.
right?
Yeah.
They still exist in the game.
Yeah.
You can't spam them indefinitely anymore like you used to be able to.
Yeah.
You might have to, work a little bit harder to earn the Pokecoins in order to,
You might.
buy more
It's not
passes.
a might, you
but
will have
That
to.
option still is available for players. It's just not, something that everybody
Price bothers me
can
more. The price is definitely
do
the
at
issue
a
here.
Unlimited amount.
I
on a
do see
day-to-day
what he's
basis.
talking about. Like, I do see what he's talking about where it's like people can just sit at home and spam them. But then also for some people, that's the only way they can play. Because like sometimes that's the only way they can play. They can't get out every day. So why does it have to be 5? The main issue is definitely the huge price increase, but I don't think 5 is enough. I think you should have at least 15, 20. It still doesn't allow people to because again, it seems like their issue is that people are only playing Pokemon Go from home. You know what I mean? But by nerfing it to 5, this really hurts rural and disabled players and all those people who can't play as much. So how about you nerf that a little bit less while still allowing, it will prevent whales from going too hard while also, I don't know what I'm saying.
I guess initially when it was first rolled out for remote raid passes, was the intention just to remove them after COVID sort of thing?
By the way, I'm just going to say right now what he said is whatever, we added a couple things for rural players, but if you're rural or disabled, you just go play another game. That's pretty much
Was that
what
kind
I'm
of the
getting from that
initial
whole
one, but
answer.
then obviously seeing the benefits that it can provide to the community,
Yeah, I mean,
There'll never be a perfect balance. I think there can be a perfect balance. I think there's 100% can be a perfect balance. It's like life balance, I think there can 100% be a perfect balance.
I don't think we ever intended to fully remove them, but you'll probably recall
You gotta think
that
of time. If a rural player wants to play for 10 or an hour a day, how many remote raids can they do in an hour? That's maybe what the limit should be.
there was always
And
sort of
then
like
no
a
price.
seasonal bonus around,
Yeah.
the damage or whatever with remote raid passes. I do think over time, as we saw how players were engaging with this feature, it became pretty clear that even something like a damage nerf wasn't really going to give people enough incentive to actually go out and raid.
You gotta make the damage nerf
so-
harder, bro.
Super painful decision. I personally am pained by it. I used to remote raid a lot.
Is this guy
I
level
have
50?
online
Does anybody know
communities
if
that
my
I
Ghost
would
Strike
raid
is level
with,
50?
and to be honest, we haven't raided that much together ever since that change, and that's really heartbreaking for me.
So
right?
no one raids anymore, is what you're saying.
But at the same time, we have no way to motivate people to get out if legendary Pokemon, the most sought after.
Well, why didn't you take them out of the
content
game
in
then? Because
Yeah,
it's still
yeah.
available.
Is something that you can get as
It's a bit contradictory because they're legendary Pokemon are available from the comfort of your home. You can still do 5 remote raids a day. So
many as you want from home. Yeah. So. Oh, actually, one more thing I do want to say about that
that was sus. Hold up.
from home.
Yeah.
So.
She even asked a
Oh.
question. And then
Actually, one more thing I do want to say about that too is when we talk about how location matters in Pokemon Go, we
Hard bonus
genuinely
to
think
in-person
that
raids,
all
I agree.
locations matter. It's not just city centers.
I just think there's better ways to do it. You know what I mean? If you really want to get people out and enjoy that in-person experience, it's not always about limiting what one thing. Just buff the other thing. Make regular raids so good that people need to go out to do them. or nerf raids a little bit and buff in-person raids a little bit.
and things like that.
I think there's other
so
ways you could do this. I don't know if they fully
we
thought
do
out
want to provide
the
players the
process.
tools to beef up their
I think
local
from the start they
communities,
wanted
you
to
know.
nerf remote raids no matter what the feedback was, but I think if they actually had listened to different ways they could have done it, or even maybe thought a little bit harder, I think there's other ways you could have got to the goal they want.
Wayfair, and more recently the community
XL candy increase, yeah, but that's not enough to get people out. You need to add guaranteed XLs from in-person raids, poffins, maybe an increase, or maybe a lower shiny odds from remote raids, so people are enticed to go out.
ambassador program.
There's 100 different ways you could do it. Just
Kestrel's
adding
been
3 extra
running.
rare candies is not going to motivate
I
you.
know that we have a ways to go on a lot of those things, but
What is he talking about?
we don't want
Tools to
rural
help
communities
players
to
out.
feel so much more desolate than highly dense city centers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't really have the ability ourselves to go out and populate those things. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, we've introduced some features and
portable
quality of life
Pokestop, bro.
improvements over the years to
Easy.
help players in those situations. But we also hope that players can also take charge and
Submit Pokestops.
right
submit
and like build out your own
Yeah.
local area.
Yeah, I think. Okay, I see what he means. I think the one thing I will say is the Wayfair system is pretty complicated. It would be nice if it was a little bit simpler. The whole Wayfair system, get more Pokestops, but it is what it is. The hurt price is so expensive. Yeah, exactly. I understand the Pokestop thing, but it takes a long time to improve your local area. You know what I mean? Like I think there's
The Walnut Crunchback Tour.
other
is
ways they
coming
could
to
do it.
10
Maybe on
p.m.
like community day,
Is-
people
is
can
to, like,
place 5
dovetail
Pokestops.
onto that.
You know, wouldn't that be a nice
Are
addition?
there new things or new discussions about, the future for rural players, disabled
Can you mute
players?
the
other
ads? I will
features
next time,
coming
Jordan.
to
Good call.
The game? Is that
Yeah,
an aspect?
yeah, definitely.
What was the question?
No,
I can't
probably
say anything. Yeah, I can't say
Features
anything
coming for
specific.
rural and
I can't
disabled
really
players.
announce as much
But,
as
you
I
know,
would
shout
love
out to
to.
Zoe
I can't
and
really
whoever
announce in
asked
this
these
video
questions for
upcoming features and whatnot.
questioning about the rules.
But again, to your earlier point about listening to player feedback and whatnot, I do think that there were some valid criticisms about some of the gaps that were introduced with the changes that we made to remote raid passes. And so we are, thinking about and trying to work on additional solutions that can help ease that friction for players that were negatively impacted in significant
okay,
ways.
this is a very vague answer.
Curious to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, same, Zoe. I'm very
Speaking of
curious.
Upcoming features.
Mm-hmm.
So with the recent Seattle trip, I was able to see some of the behind the scenes things that are coming.
Uh-huh.
Here's what they all are, guys. Quickly, I'm going to break an NDA. No, but like there was genuinely a lot of things that I think are like, okay, that's cool, that's hype. I'm fine with that, whatever else. But they seemed like genuinely interesting, decent features.
Interesting, decent. Hold up. If you go interesting, decent, I don't know if that's a compliment. Decent is not decent features. I'm curious what they are, though.
I'm glad you think so.
Is there a reason those things, I guess, or even half of them, one of them, wasn't brought out before the change
Yeah.
to raid passes? Because I think another big thing for this is that I feel like there's still so much that could be done to help build up communities before these changes, or
Right.
have other things
Agreed.
to engage with in the game.
Right.
Was there a reason some of these weren't brought out before that, or it's just a timing
I'm glad you think they're mid.
thing?
Yeah, I mean, so to be perfectly candid, the remote raid pass conversation and debate is something that we've had internally at Niantic for a year and a half, right? It's not something that we woke up one morning and said like, hey, we need to make this change and we're going to do it right now.
I don't imagine.
Yeah, so it's not something that we took lightly, but when we also looked at the roadmap of exciting things that we had for the rest of the year, there's often sort of two trains of thought on how to do things, right? One is rip the Band-Aid off, get all the like bad stuff out of the way so that you can clear the runway for new, exciting, cool things that that people can have sort of a uninterrupted
Okay.
reception for. And the other is
Uninterrupted reception? Dude, if you rip the Band-Aid off, there's There's a very interrupted reception. Hey, the Debo show with the 5. Hopefully he soon starters final evolution soon. He soon owns 100 candies. He soon type evolution. That would be sick. Hopefully soon. Maybe that's what they're working on. But yeah, no, that I don't know about that.
Is, you know, maybe have a little bit of sugar to help the medicine go down, right? And it's like, okay, we know we're going to make this really painful change, but here are these other things that we have in the game.
Compliment sandwich strategy sort of thing.
Yeah. And so I don't think there's a right answer for that.
No right answer. Bro, you gotta...
And ultimately, we knew that this was going to be such a painful change to make.
If you knew it was going to be such a painful change, why didn't you add features that would make it less painful? Like, why would you voluntarily go with the one that's going to, especially with the track record Niantic has in making changes and not listening to the community, why would you go with the more painful one? Why wouldn't you add things that slowly make it a little bit better? You know, like, oh, like, hey, I know if you're rural, we're adding this. Remote raids are getting nerfed, but now you can add a portable Pokestop once a week.
That, you know, we made the decision to take the rip the Band-Aid off approach. And I know that means that we're going to have to work even harder to earn back the trust and love for Pokemon Go that that we've lost with the.
Dude, they've put themselves in a very deep hole, because I'm not saying everybody didn't like all the changes they were making before, but I don't know if Niantic was in a good position before they made this change, you know?
This change for...
Again, I bring it back to that video I made. Remote raid passes were amazing for Pokemon Go, but also slowly they made them so good that as they removed it, it slowly just like was a bad thing for Pokemon Go.
A lot of players. But I hope that people will stick around to actually see a lot of the cool things that we have working on, because I am genuinely excited for it. And I think that Pokemon Go at the end of this year is going to be a very different game than it was at the start of the year in good ways.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm hopeful as well, because
it's a good point. The back room, I like that. Solution incentivize 20k XP per raid, 5 more XL. Yeah. Like,
I think it's one of those things, like seeing the things in person in Seattle where it's like, oh, that's sick, but it's also at the moment still shrouded in like the general vibe is just, and even for me,
exactly. So he was saying rip the Band-Aid off and make space for new features, but like that strategy just doesn't work because everybody's thinking about the ripped Band-Aid, like thinking about that sting.
Fully transparently, I don't have the platinum medal for raids and things like that. I'm not a raid person.
Right.
But it's still, I guess the general sentiment is very flat at the moment with we're not being listened to, whatever else, where it's kind of like I'm viewing it through the lens of that's sick, but I'm battling this like...
Yeah, and it's also just not good for the company because it gives this... Everybody has now the theory of they're trying to pull your attention away, you know? Like, they made this change, they knew it was going to hurt, but now they're trying to show you this new flashy thing to hopefully forget, and that just feels bad. That just feels bad.
Yeah.
Feeling at the moment, and I guess in a similar way where I'm hoping that it is something that over time and with whatever else is rolling out, it is, you know, healthier at the end of the day for it. You know, it might take a long time to get there.
Yep.
But
one thing I'll say is a lot of people were... Healthier is an interesting term because Pokemon Go is actually more successful with more raids. They make more money, which means they have more money to invest in features and changes to the game. But now, making this change, they're following their motto, but they're making less money. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense there. Is it really healthier for the game? Now you're going to have less money to invest into features and update the game. Because Pokemon Go actually made way more profit during 2020, 2021, when remote raids were a thing. And now their profit in this year will probably go down. Yeah,
it's just a weird feeling to be kind of working through that.
Trust me, I know all too well, right? But yeah, ultimately,
it has to be wait and see essentially because there's
right.
Pretty much.
But I'm hopeful. This is definitely the most
job.
exciting year that we've had in a long time, I think, in terms of feature development for Pokemon Go. But yeah, I know we have a lot of trust and love to earn back from the community, and we're going to do our best to do that. And, you know, I know we're not a perfect company by any means, but we're always trying to
No one's perfect.
delight players in ways that no other game can. And yeah, only time will tell if we're able to actually pull that
I
off.
don't know. Most games can throw
But you
content.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I hope so, honestly.
So they pretty much just stand there like, I hope that it all turns out good.
I had a question from the community here. So someone had asked, why weren't in-person raid improvements, you know, guaranteed XLs, you know, number of players in the lobby, you know, shadow raids are now out, obviously.
Yes.
Why weren't those sorts of like extra spicy bonuses launched for in-person raiding before
Right.
the nerf?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did some of those things as like trial bonuses, right? For raid days and, you know,
Yeah.
can't remember if it was like Go Tour or Go Fest where we tried that in the
They
past.
did like, what, one guaranteed XL?
So we did sample some of those things out, but at the end of the day, the vast majority of players care about catching.
Based on what? Based on what? Like,
The
let him talk.
Pokemon, right? And
The difference wasn't there.
the difference isn't there for most players. You might have people on like the margins who are really motivated.
How do you know this information? Wait, how do you know this information? How is this a testable thing? Did you do a survey? Interesting.
By XL Rare Candy, for example, that might, you know, go out and do the in-person stuff with that as like an extra motivator.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of players aren't quite there.
Well, there's other things you could do. Like, there's so many ways to buff in-person raids and not nerf remote ones than just adding XL rare candies and all sorts of other stuff. And then also, it just... number of passes used, that's what they're based on.
And the way we see it is every single
real
person
incentives.
that decides to do the raid from home instead of going out is a missed opportunity to foster a new connection in person with your local community.
About a global community
And I think,
fostering.
you know, a lot of the feedback that I've been seeing online is this notion that, you know, my local community is dead now. And so, well, how am I supposed to actually get these raids done? But it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, right?
Yeah.
The local community can never be resuscitated if there's no way to actually motivate people to go out and play face to face with each other.
We just
so
gave you the solution.
we
I
kind of
think
have to.
especially post-pandemic, people might not
Right.
even know that they have a local community
Right.
potentially as well. Like,
Yeah.
met
Some
someone
people
in
don't.
Brisbane last week who came down for the Com Day thing,
Yeah.
but they hadn't met a single person that had been there before.
Right.
And there's a massive community.
Yeah.
Like, it's the major city in Australia.
Yeah.
But I guess them not knowing that those people live there. I have another question to tie into that, I guess.
What is this supposed to be an example? You just didn't find any players. Doesn't mean there's no local community.
That
I'm confused.
Campfire,
Uh-huh.
when it's expected to be fully rolled out.
Right.
Because I think there's a lot of legs that Campfire
I don't know what
could
Zoe
do.
was about to say.
Yes.
I
You
was
don't need to
confused about what
know,
Zoe was about to say there.
You know, the Newcastle Discord for things
Right.
are just called Newcastle Pokemon Go. How do you find it?
Yep.
The self map's going to be gone at some
Yeah.
point, so you can't find your local Facebook, whatever. Is
Right.
it still active?
Right.
So
Self has a
Campfire
map
as
that does
itself,
that?
I think, has a lot of potential, but the fact that it's not fully rolled out, accessible, everyone
Yeah,
can't
she's also a
download it yet
YouTuber.
to
Yep.
use it.
Yep.
In my mind, had that been rolled out as well earlier, people would have less of a sense of, I have no community, or they don't know that they have a community.
Right.
Is there, I guess, what's happening with Campfire? Like,
Sure.
are people going to have access? Because I think that's like,
Yeah, is Campfire even available to everybody yet? Chat? I'm not 100% sure. I don't know.
that's a massive gap for just finding your locals.
Totally agree. Yeah.
yeah.
Before I answer your question about Campfire specifically,
No? Becky?
so today, obviously, I guess if your viewers don't know, we went and played the
Yeah.
Shadow Mewtwo
yeah.
debut.
Good point, Cam.
raid.
Let's one thing is let's try to be respectful still. Like, this guy is just doing his job, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna attack him.
And I was able to meet a lot of awesome community members from the Sydney from the Sydney community.
Good.
And
for you.
someone that I was talking to was telling me that he actually stopped playing Pokemon Go in 2016. And the reason he came back to play Pokemon Go and is playing right now is he actually saw a bunch of people out raiding recently.
Nah, he saw a
in
Pokédaxi
Sydney
video, let's be honest.
and thought like, oh, maybe I should like download this game again and check it out.
Yeah.
Classic.
That doesn't happen if those people are raiding from home,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so, again, when I talk about sort of the chicken and
Yes,
egg
but you
thing,
also lose,
we
like,
do
you
need
get
to
a couple extra players like that, but you also lose so many players if you can't have remote raids.
create these experiences that get people out in order to help resuscitate those communities, and in order to help grow them again.
Yeah. I was gonna say I agree,
Okay,
because
so
more often than not,
all you
there
care about is
a
local
community. Like if someone's
communities,
saying like
is
I've
what
got
it
no
seems
local
like.
community, and I'm like, where do you live? They say the city, and I'm like, my guy, I've played there. Like you definitely do. I've met
Right.
people that live there. but
Okay,
I
yeah,
just
there's
don't
some
know
people who are
Right.
just gonna say
that
that.
those people are there, or that how to, get in
Yep.
contact.
Yeah.
I think it is definitely at that point as well where if people are feeling a bit disillusioned or whatever else, where
Yep.
it's like we are, the people that are the community leaders or the Discord group managers or the campfire
Yeah, the one
comrades.
anecdotal
It's going to be up to those
example.
people to push for, hey guys, come and meet up at the Opera House. We're going to go do these raids. Come and let's go do Com Day, whatever else.
Yep.
But if someone isn't taking that initiative, then it's not
Totally.
going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, yes, chicken and egg, where it's all like, is there something enticing in the game to make me go
Right.
out and do it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But getting
Yeah.
now back to your campfire question,
Yeah.
Not even
we
halfway through this.
do
I gotta stop pausing.
agree that things have changed since the pandemic. And we do know that a lot of these local communities have maybe, shrunken over time. They're not as active as they used to be. So the whole intent with Campfire is to provide players a more direct resource
Okay, we know why Campfire is a thing, but when's it coming out?
in the game
Yes.
to discover and actually build those communities out. When we do eventually have Campfire available to everybody, we want there to be meaningful tools for being able to do just that.
Yeah.
And so, again, I can't really speak to when that's going to happen or whatever, but
Why not?
it's very top of mind for us because we know that local
Again, this is another example, like they were talking about earlier, rip off the Band-Aid. If Campfire should have been fully rolled out before this change. If their goal is to get in-person stuff, they should have held off on nerfing remote raids and gotten Campfire fully rolled out and rolling, because you need something to replace. If your whole point is to get people out, you can't just say no more remote raids, but in-person raids are still mediocre. There's not really a good way for you to go find people. It should have been fully rolled out.
communities around the world actually need that extra bit of help to get the engines running
connect.
back again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I also don't want to say that like online communities mean nothing to us. I think it's great that people can connect online through Pokemon Go. You can, send each other gifts from different places, and we introduced the Scatterbug and Vivillon feature that gave even more meaning to the global community and being able to make friends around the world. But
with them.
that can't take the place of local communities, at least to us, right? And similarly
Okay, so pretty much saying online communities are zero priority. Scatterbug.
to what I mentioned earlier, any game that you play, you can join an online community. And that's not something that will ever be sort of unique to Pokemon Go. And we really want to lean into what makes this game special and unique. And we hope that players still can keep their, friends online and celebrate with their online communities, but that can't be at the expense of the local communities at the same time.
Okay, so pretty much they don't care about
as well.
they don't care
'Cause,
about
like,
online communities. That's
I think for me, especially a big thing is
The
obviously
quick
having
version.
met so many people online, and then when you
that's
do
like a
have
confirmation directly. Like, we don't care about your online communities.
a chance, if you do, to meet in person,
Right.
it's a
Scatterbug's our savior.
it's a wild experience to meet face to face for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it is hard because it's everything's hard. It's like it's all just loops back in.
Yep.
But yeah, it is. Is there other things, I guess, in the works for online community thing? Even though it's not going to be the priority, are there other things for people to engage?
I do appreciate Zoe's really pushing the questions about what is the plan for the, you know, online, rurals, disabled, all that stuff.
Gauge for online communities, like whether it be, I guess, you know, the remote raiding is becoming less so. That's sort of, you know, not that people can't still do that.
Yeah.
Are there other things happening for?
I would say that the majority of things that we're focused on for this year are definitely more focused on the in-person pieces.
Yeah.
That's not to say that, you know, in future years.
Oh,
that
no,
we
that's
don't
100% to say that in future years, there's nothing else going to be new.
start prioritizing things for more global connectivity.
Why would they wouldn't prioritize it? Because again, their whole motto is getting people outside. So this just seems like a filler answer because you've clearly just stated that local communities is the priority and we don't want onlines to be taken away from that. And then now you're saying you're going to add stuff for online
and whatnot. But for 2023, we really wanted to be laser focused on helping revitalize local communities around the world.
And with local, is that more local, you know, peer to peer, or is that like, you know, going to be one that?
Which doesn't make sense because, like, yeah, you're right. GBL, there's some decent stuff for online communities, but why would they even have them in the game if their end goal is to get people outside? Like, everything in the game should theoretically force people to get outside if that's their goal. Because then, again, you're missing those interactions he talked about, which someone's seeing it and they see a bunch of maybe people who are walking to do their GBL sets. And, like, you know, it's a little contradictory because it doesn't make a lot of sense if you're going to be like, oh, well, our goal is to get everybody outside all the time. So why don't you add, you know, a walking requirement back for GBL? Because then maybe someone's walking, trying to do their GBL sets, and then someone sees them and says, oh, I want to play Pokemon Go again, and gets that in person, you know? Like the exact example he just said. So I feel like every feature, like if they really want to push for their online, like their motto, theoretically, shouldn't every feature, like why is it a pick and choose?
Those things where, you know, the raw player goes, I can't even engage with this, or is it more that you can still have your one mate, your two friends, and that's going to still, you're going to find benefit from these features?
Yeah, we're hoping to be able to do things that that scale well, you know, depending on what your situation looks like at any given place.
Yeah.
I actually think the Shadow Raid feature that we launched is hopefully a good example of that, right? Where these raid bosses are incredibly challenging and difficult to take on. And of course, if you can get a lobby size of 20, it's much easier to do. But we also wanted to introduce the purified gems as a way to say, hey, even if you have smaller groups in your, you know, rural local community, if everybody works together to get enough of these shadow gems, you can actually take out the bosses. You get one average IV shadow easier than the normal versions of those raids.
Okay. Easier than a non-shadow Mewtwo.
Potentially. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to. It'd be impossible to do in Sydney to try a small lobby. But I'd be curious to, if you've done a small shadow raid with like 5 of your friends, let us know how it went.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to.
It's not that hard. You need 4 or 5 to beat it with purified gems. You can duo it, you can trio it, but then the problem with that is that rural players probably don't have as many resources, which means they don't have as many good counters. So
yeah, to see how effectively the
we were a group of 5 the whole time,
as well,
or we might have been
that
6.
You can, as opposed to being, I guess, I'm never going to get this done. It's Mewtwo, it's Shadow, it's boosted.
Right.
I'm not going to have a chance. If people know that they can, like that is a powerful tool, and that you only need X, Y, Z number of people to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, and you know, like we talked about earlier, it is a really tough challenge to overcome and a tough balance to strike because there is that distinction between the wants and the needs.
What's up, Yonkers?
So, yeah, we're trying to manage through it, but it can be difficult at times, and but it's something that we're always paying attention to the numbers, and we want to make sure that
I'm curious why they didn't allow for remote raids on
the
Shadow
experience
raids,
that we're seeing all around the world is something that we can
limiting it to
stand
5 a
behind
day,
and
like,
say, okay, we
it
feel
still
really
forces
good
people
about
who really
what
want to
we're
go
able
out and get
deliver
it
to players here.
to do it. Let me mute the app. I wouldn't mind seeing a daily schedule of what raids be at a particular gym. But yeah, that would be nice actually. That would actually be pretty nice. It's a video game. There are no needs. Well, there are, because it's not like a regular video game, right? Like Pokemon Go cannot be played like it's not like a regular video game. You have to actually go you actually have some needs to be able to play it. It's not like my need is internet and that, like, the needs are that you need to have legs that work and that can move, you know, that you need Pokestops. It's not like Zelda where you sit down and your only need is, you don't even need internet for Zelda, a Switch and a console.
Question.
Okay.
My YouTube Premium is
Niantic
non-existent.
selling our location data? Are you guys, you know where I live? What's going on with location? That's I guess a good
It's a big
tinfoil
Sure.
thing that goes around
counterpoint.
online. Where
Yeah.
it's, they're making squillions from selling our location data
Right.
to companies, blah, blah, blah. Is there any merit to that?
From what I heard,
I'm actually very glad you asked this spicy question, because I have to say it's probably one of my biggest pet peeves of what I see in terms of like online conversation and theorizing from our players. So I want to say, like, definitively, no,
a weird pause.
we are not.
Yeah.
We are not selling your location data in order to make a profit. That is not a core revenue stream for us, business model, and it's
You
not
heard
a
it here,
business
I
that we
guess.
want to get into. And I think we actually did release a statement last month or a couple months ago saying that, you know, we do not sell individualized data from our players. And then I think
That
a lot of
turned into
people,
the
were like,
anonymized,
oh, well,
yeah.
they said individualized, so, you know, they're just trying to like squirm around this.
Yeah.
But the reality is the most location data we'll ever provide to, let's say, a sponsor within Pokemon Go is, here's how many times your Pokestop was spun this month. But that has nothing to do with your specific location or anything like that.
So, like, you don't.
Okay, well, I want to trust him. I'm a trustworthy person. He said it. They don't sell your data, and they don't sell your individualized data. They don't sell general data. The only data they give to sponsored people is how many times your stop was spun. Let me know if you trust him or not, chat. Maybe I was wrong in my video where I said they sell data. It would make a lot of sense that they sell data. I don't know why they wouldn't. Like, it's an income source for the company.
Provide Zoe spun that sponsored stop,
No.
or you know, female age 23 spun this thing. Is
And
there
then
even something that like?
No, we don't. I mean, we don't even have that information for any of our players, right? We don't know your any of your demographics, really.
Yeah.
We collect your date of birth when you create your account, but that's only to determine if it's a child account or not.
Right.
And that's not something that we, you know, store on your account to leverage for future, you know, data selling reasons. So yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like everyone in chat is saying that he said they don't sell individualized data. They sell general data. He legit said not a core revenue source, so it's still a source. Okay. I want to believe him. But at the same time, it's so hard to believe it because a game like Pokemon Go could make so much money. It makes no sense.
So it's quite literally sponsored stop. Hi, Niantic. We've sponsored this stop. Are we getting? Are people coming to our thing? Hey, 100 people have spun it this month.
Right. Pretty much. And also, in terms of our strategy with the different sponsorships that we have in Pokemon Go,
There's a whole Forbes
it's not
article.
really intended to be like a heavy revenue driver for us. We actually pick those sponsors.
By the way, incorrect with the age. At least they have access your age, etc., through your Google login info.
Based on the value that they're able to provide our players. That's what's most important to us is actually talking about like the rural challenge when we can partner with Verizon, for example.
I'm a trustworthy person. I
They
want to
can
trust them.
identify stores all around the
But again,
country.
Niantic is a private company, so all this information they can keep to themselves, and there's no legal requirement to tell us, right?
Or the world, where we can then add Pokestops that weren't there before, and then that is a value add to players, especially in places where there might not be a lot of Pokestops for them to engage with. So that's the primary goal of those things. And yeah, for what we actually use location data for,
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what do you...
it's to determine
Okay, so they have location data.
what Pokemon you see
Right.
in the game. And we also, try to take a look.
Why would you need location data to show what Pokemon you see? Wouldn't you just put certain Pokemon in areas of the map? Like the map would be divided into water side, mountain, city. You don't need people's location data for that, do you?
Look at different places that players in aggregate tend to play to help inform, like, okay, actually, we need to have a lot more Pokemon.
I guess for like incense, right? I think he means like incense, because theoretically you don't need to know where someone is. Like the GPS will put them in an area, and then you could just make certain Pokemon spawn in, regional stuff like that. But I think he's talking about like regionals off your incense. Like they need to know.
Pokemon in these areas because there are lots of players in those locations.
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
But no, it is not a big revenue driver for us. And I
Not a big revenue driver?
think that actually...
Is that more of just it's not worth the time focusing on it, or is it more of a Niantic values where that's not what you want to do?
It's not the business that we want to be in,
Yeah.
And we take personally identifiable information incredibly seriously at Niantic.
Okay.
Everything is sort of like scrubbed and anonymized, and that's why this is such a big pet peeve for me to see online, because I know that the team has worked incredibly hard to, really take that seriously and make sure that we're not using any of that information for like nefarious needs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked that question, because
Believe what you want, chat. He said it doesn't happen. You could theoretically say that he dodged and said it's not a big revenue source. I'm not sure. Jimmy with the 10, very specific with his words. They don't sell data to sponsors. Doesn't mean they don't sell data at data aggregators who sell data and advertise to you. Okay, so you're thinking they sell data to people who then sell your data again. That is Zoe 2 Dots. I don't know. Everybody in chat, you could believe what you want. Some people believe that it's true. Some people believe that it's not. Really, all we have to do is take his word on it. There's only one perspective here.
because I do want to squash
Let's
it.
just keep going
as well. Like I would have assumed that it was at least some
Right.
part of the.
And I
hadn't even thought about it until someone brought it up. I was like, oh yeah, that would make sense for
Yeah.
them to do that on the side as well.
exactly.
If
But-
it's genuinely not it, and I appreciate the honest answer.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And I also don't blame people
Curious if Zoe
for
believes it.
assuming that or thinking that, right?
When it
Especially
is a
when
location-based game.
Right. And especially in the sort of within the topic of the remote raid pass changes that we made. I think a lot of players were trying to understand
I think the real question will be, will revenue go up or down this next year? Because remote raid passes are gone, but if revenue stays pretty similar, there's got to be something that's kind of covering up that revenue source.
why we would make such a change. And, the only reason that made sense to people with Niantic being a business, a company, is that, we must be making more money through your location data than we made from remote raid pass sales. And I can say that that is absolutely not the case. The decision was wholly made on our values and the, mission to leverage technology and Pokemon Go to encourage players to explore the world around them. And that's actually one of my favorite things about working at a company like.
Okay, so they're saying that they're making less money now, and they made this decision even like for their motto, pretty much. Okay.
Niantic is we will make those value-driven decisions even at the expense of what might be an incredibly popular or profitable feature within the game, because we're very much a mission-driven company ahead of anything else.
Okay. I guess, feeds into the memes of Niantic's after the money, but then the raid pass changes. Obviously, like now I can't do 100 raids, and it's like, well,
again, I get it.
I would say from my perspective, it's like, oh, okay, well,
So
clearly
this was a mission-driven choice,
in my
supposedly.
perspective, a mission or a...
Yeah, this doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't really know how, like, private company shareholders work and stuff, but, like, wouldn't there be some people who would be, like, our revenue, like, they wouldn't allow this change? Like, some people who own part of the company? Or I guess it's all up to John Hankey because he probably owns the most of it. So he can make the choice. I'm not 100% sure how shareholding works with Niantic and stuff, but
you know, values driven thing where it's not, I mean, if it was just money, it would be like, cool, here's half price remote
company
rate
wouldn't have
passes
shareholders. Well, would they have like a board, right? They would still have a board, right? Is what I mean, sorry.
Do infinite ones,
Right.
and people are going to do twice as many, and
Yep.
whatever else, in a very cynical view of it. But
Yep.
when it did change, I was like, okay, like I'm assuming, and you've, I guess, said that it is more tied to the, you want to get people out and about,
Yep.
explore the world, in whatever capacity that might be. So,
Yeah, totally.
yeah. Oh, it's a fun one. This might be I don't even know if you can answer this one necessarily. Do you think the team is spread thin? And do new games like Pikmin, Peridot, Marvel, all that, do they take away
so John
members
Hankey's
from
in
the
complete
team
control,
on
okay.
Pokemon Go?
So
to
they
work
can
on,
make that
or is it
choice.
something where you hire new people, expand the team,
Right.
What's going on?
etc.?
Yeah,
Especially-
I have seen some of those,
Pokemon Go spread
again,
too thin.
theories online.
I know
and-
Billy made a
and
bunch of
whatnot,
videos
and,
about this.
That's not how it works. All of those other games have dedicated teams focused on building those games, and we hire people to focus on those games. So it doesn't pull resources away from Pokemon Go.
Well, it would.
I do think the Pokemon Go team is incredibly busy, but it's because we have these really crazy ambitions for the game, and we have such a passionate team that wants to make this difference in the world. But
It's not like if Pikmin comes out, it's not like, sorry, Tim.
Well, theoretically, I'm going to say this right now. Pokemon Go brings in most of the income. So even if the team is not being spread thin, the money would still be being a little bit more spread thin. Although I don't think Pokemon Go really has a money problem. But it would definitely indirectly take money from the game, developing a fully new game, because the new game's not bringing in any income versus Pokemon Go's bringing in, like, I think Pokemon Go brings in like 120, like 20. It brings in pretty much like a lot of the income.
Amy, you're on the other project now.
Right. Exactly. So no, but our investments in other games and trying to build other experiences does not in any way, shape, or form pull from the team that's focused on Pokemon Go.
Cool. With, I guess, you saying the team's busy, is the Pokemon Go team expanding at all? I mean, you probably can't, I don't know if you can comment on that, or is it something where it's growing?
Yeah, I think what I would say to that question is our job boards are public. You
That's a good
can
point,
take
Brock.
a look and
I'm
see
trying to be open.
what roles
jobs
are
going?
open.
I will say what I will say is I do respect Niantic for making a change that does make them lose money, and following their mission. That is something that I think in these days nowadays, like, you gotta respect. You know what I mean? I will say that. We want communication, but we're calling communication lies. I never called it a lie. I think a lot of people in chat thinks it's a lie, but that is a good point. If you do have to kind of, to a point, trust. There's just no way to check if it's actually real. Like, there's no way to prove if it's actually real. So you could still very much get being lied to. You know what I mean? I think some people just have, trouble trusting big corps nowadays with how the world is.
Open and yeah.
Okay. I'll kind of scroll and see what's available. So this is a me one as well.
Okay.
So from my perspective, the APAC, the New Zealand, Australia bugs are a thing.
Yep.
I know it's like a fairly constant thing. From my perspective, I know there's always like a commentary about like, oh, can't they get someone to test the game beforehand? But I'm like, the reality is if 10, 20, 30 people are testing it beforehand, that's never going to catch all the bugs of a large-scale rollout where there's no way to test it until thousands of people are using it.
True.
From my perspective, potentially a lot of these bugs are inevitable, possibly for forever. Maybe not. I'm sure some things get ironed out and fixed as they go along, but from, there's always a chance. Is there anything in the works at the moment, or teams looking at focusing on either, make goods for Australia and New Zealand, or having a benefit for essentially always being the beta testers? A little sorry, here's because a lot of the time, either if it does get acknowledged, it's sorry about that. Maybe there's a makeup if it was a raid day.
Right.
But a lot of the times there's been instances where, Shiny Carvana wasn't turned on for the whole research day. They
Let me just keep watching.
never got to make good on that. Or, the bonuses from the spotlight that were missed were never, corrected.
Yeah.
Is there anything, is that something that gets considered, or is it too small of a...
It is one of those things that's kind of just the unfortunate way that the world is set up, where, you happen to be in the first time zone and...
Okay, so I understand the point about the bugs, and I agree. I think the game's always going to have bugs. There's always going to be issues. But I think the main issue here, and I think what Zoe was trying to get at, is there's a lot of simple things that happen in the game. Like, for example, all the graphics that are kind of incorrect. And also, turning on Shiny Carvana or whatever, which is kind of stuff that's, very simple stuff that you would think would be a simple switch turn on. I don't know how it works. I'm not a developer, but I would think, right? I think we can make an assumption that turning on a shiny Pokemon is not too complicated in terms of the back end. And I think Zoe's trying to ask, why does that stuff continue to happen? Not other bugs that you can't really figure out. Bugs are unavoidable, but I think there's a lot of bugs that are simple stuff. They have successfully turned on shiny forms so many times, but why is there a lot of other times where it still happens where we get this issue? I don't know how it works, but I'm just saying I think what Zoe's trying to get at here is why do the same issues keep happening after they've already been fixed or have been successfully done?
So there's no way around that.
But yes,
part
there's
of
no
it.
way around bugs. I agree.
I don't think the team at Niantic is happy with the quality level that we've been able to execute.
That's good to
know. Especially recently.
Yeah. And
so what I can share is that that's actually a huge priority for us right now, is to figure out how we can reduce those errors and issues that take place. And unfortunately, the earliest time zones are most impacted by.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I think we try to put together make goods, especially in regions that are impacted. I know that sometimes can maybe fall short of expectations.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, you have a personal bat signal to me, hit me up and say hey, Michael, that wasn't good enough. And we'll
so
definitely
Zoe has contact.
Take that into consideration and whatnot. But yeah, I do want to apologize. I know that, it can be incredibly painful. That's part of why I'm out here today. This Shadow Raids, with the Shiny Shadow Mewtwo launch, it was a big deal for us. And we wanted to make sure that it went smoothly for you all out here.
There's been no bugs so far that I've noticed.
Yes,
so.
thankfully.
All you have to do is ship you out every event, just get Michael out.
I don't know how sustainable that is. But at least for this, we really wanted to make sure that, like I mentioned, we had boots on the ground. If issues did come up, I had a very quick, line of communication back to the team to see if we can quickly troubleshoot and resolve any issues. But
yeah. So again, I think the main point here is Zoe was trying to ask is why do the same bugs keep popping up? Bugs aren't unavoidable, but I think you can avoid bugs that you've had. If you can successfully release shiny Reshiram when it drops, why can't you successfully release shiny Drud again? You know what I mean? It's a bad. So I think that's what Zoe's trying to get at. And then also I think a point Zoe's trying to make, or at least she's trying to get an answer, is the make goods do feel a little bit slow. You know what I mean? When there is a bug, it seems like a while until Niantic addresses it. And I think we all in the community would hope it would just be a bit quicker. Niantic is actually, I'm not going to say that fully, because there's plenty of situations where Niantic is quick on the bugs and saying sorry for this issue. But I think it's for more for the APSC bugs. For anything in New Zealand, Australia, they're a little bit slow sometimes.
Wasn't the case this time around.
Talking about it.
Unless you were reporting stuff on the sly, I think it's been smooth as is.
Great.
I don't think I had any issues with Shadow Raids. Except
was there anything
before
that you
they
noticed
released
that you had to flag?
before they released in 1-star and 3-star shadow raids, the gems weren't working, but I'm glad they figured it out before Mewtwo was out.
I think or no.
My account was incredibly lucky, and I think that, you know, a lot of people were maybe upset by that. But no, and I also don't think that the shadow raids feature is absolutely perfect the way it is. But in terms of game breaking bugs, I feel pretty good about at least how the experience.
That's true. There's no
has
game
been so
breaking bugs,
far.
which is good. There's
Obviously
probably
we can-
still bugs. Yeah, like people say there's still bugs. For you, they weren't working, Yonkis? Maybe they weren't working through Europe as well. They said they worked fine in Australia.
It's not over yet.
Maybe they were in such big lobbies that they didn't have to use the gems.
But anything that we build in the game, we're always looking to improve, tune differently, and just make sure that it's something that, again, delivers on the experience that we intended to deliver.
I guess with the shadow raids being somewhat similar to like the elite raid system, was that intended that the elite raids would roll out in advance to prep for the shadow raids, or was it just purely coincidental? Because there were a few things that were ironed out, like the lobby not found.
Right.
And again, things that you wouldn't find out until there's a billion humans joining the early time zone raids, where
Yeah.
you know you might not even considered the fact that a lobby could be capped for an in-person raid.
Right.
Was it just, I guess, coincidental the elite raids were released in advance?
I think it was more coincidental. You know, raiding in particular for us
This question
is
is not very important.
you know, such a powerful motivator to get people out and to
Zoe's,
actually get local communities together in a way that we can't really do with a lot of other features. So, you know, it's not a coincidence that these two features that were focused on in-person play were raid related.
Yeah. I guess I more mean like testing out the, you know, pushing it to the limits, identifying the bugs with the elites before. But that's just happened to be the way that the system works.
Happened to be the way.
Yeah.
We never launch
I'm
a
glad that the
feature
bugs got
with
sorted
a
out.
yeah
in advance.
Yeah,
It's
well,
a
knock
shame
on
that-
wood. Again, you know, we
Yeah.
have a whole
Time is
weekend
this question?
Still
coming up.
Right.
Yeah, not even halfway done because we're in the earliest time
Oh,
zone.
next is
so.
PvP.
I'm fingers crossed it'll go smooth.
Thank you.
I look, not that I wanted there to be bugs, but I was like, Michael's going to experience his first APAC
Interesting
bug
too,
event. Like, it's going to be hilarious. And it all went smoothly, so
Yeah,
missed
yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
well,
Personally, I
we'll
didn't
get
have
you
any
next
Sorry,
time,
I don't think I can
but-
come for every single one, but I want to really give credit to the team back at Niantic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like,
they-
it's not like you're here messaging them
No.
being like, make this perfect.
Yeah,
whatever
I'm
else.
not like
It's
some good luck charm. It really
No.
was the team that put a ton of effort into making this as smooth as
Yeah.
possible.
Shout
And,
out the team,
And
I guess.
I agree with that as well. Like, having met some people on the engineering team and stuff, where it's like, I don't want to, you know, share private conversations or whatever. When
Right.
someone's like saying that they're going into the office on their weekend because they're genuinely concerned for the
Yep.
APAC community, the New Zealand community, and they're like, they
Yep.
don't want that to be the experience.
Yep.
In my mind, I'm like, you shouldn't have to go in on your weekend, but I'm like, that's like, thank you for
Yeah.
caring and doing that as well. So it's like, I know that the individuals on the ground are incredibly hardworking
Totally.
and do care and do listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Michael for going out to Australia. That's super nice. But also, I'm just trying to think about how, like, what he can do from there. You know what I mean? It is like, yes, he went on his weekend, shout out, but would it not be better for him to be at the headquarters helping out? Because wouldn't they have like I don't know how it works. Maybe I'm just spitballing.
So I think it's just rough when it does go wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially when it's something that's unforeseen.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the most heartbreaking things for me, actually, because I do think that there sometimes can be this assumption or sentiment from the player base that Niantic doesn't care and we're really out of touch with things and whatnot. But the team that we have is so incredibly passionate about this stuff, and they work so hard to try to make things go as smoothly as possible.
Yeah.
that
Obviously,
makes
like
sense,
I said,
Yonkis.
we have more misses than we'd like to see, and we're going to be trying our best to fix that over time. But it's a super complex game.
Yeah.
There are literally thousands of things that can go wrong for any given event
Yeah.
or feature rollout
roll.
or anything. And
Yeah.
so more patient, you all, especially in the APAC region, have been super, super patient already.
APAC, that's how you say
Give
it.
us a
but-
safari and it's all good. We'll forgive all this. But seriously.
You're not
No
joking,
comment.
so you want a Safari Zone. Oh, another ad. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that does make sense. He gives direct info to the team. I just don't know, like, him being there and just doing a bunch of shadow raids, like, it just seems like he's being paid to go do raids. Got the ad. Yo, we got a new Paldea Evolved ad.
And I appreciate that you guys do, care, listen.
Yeah.
I'll sass you more whenever there's bugs. It's fine. We'll get it sorted out.
Ad counter,
This is
that,
one
like,
from the community.
30?
I think it's probably good that it's you that I'm asking the question to, because it's PvP. You're a PvP guy.
Right.
And I asked for a screenshot to put here in the video for he does play the game. The Niantics do play the game.
Where's the screenshot? Oh.
It's basically...
Okay, hold up. Legend. What's his longest streak? 12. Yes, okay. Michael's a PvP man. The proof is right here.
Someone's saying, can they please care about PvP for once? It has so much potential for being a valid esport, but this person feels like they've been ignored for the PvP players for so many seasons, and they feel like the future of PvP is in jeopardy. You're someone who's you've hit legend every single season, right?
I've
you've
never
caught
missed
all
it.
You've caught all your own, built your own teams. Obviously, you play enough to get your guys for your teams.
Yeah.
And actually make it to legend.
Legend.
Does Michael compete at regionals?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that PvP...
You were saying the audio is bad. What's wrong with the audio right now? Is it bad for everybody? I just paused it. I muted it.
is probably what I personally care about the most in Pokemon Go.
I think I muted it for a second, so everybody
it's
thought there was
pretty,
no audio.
There's a natural fit for me.
Refresh if your audio
We definitely
is bad.
want to keep investing in PvP.
Refresh your
I think we
app.
had a pretty big miss recently that I've publicly acknowledged. In terms of this most recent season, we didn't have any major move updates, and so the meta got really stale, and a lot of players were incredibly frustrated by that.
He wins
Is that
CP every
something
time.
where because of worlds coming up sort of thing where you don't want to change the meta, or is that not usually a factor, or
No,
is it even a factor, or it just wasn't on the cards for this season?
That's been a factor in the past for us. We have received feedback from players that they're okay to get big move changes even in a season where Worlds is coming up, and so we want to take that feedback into consideration and not shy away from it moving forward. But that one was just a miss, and so it's something that we're going to be...
I do appreciate this right here. They're straight up, this is more stuff we need like this. He's like, yeah, the move updates were trash for the last season, are bad, we should have given more, we got the feedback, people want move updates, and as we saw yesterday, which I haven't put a video out on it, but I'm going to put a video about, there's a huge move update coming out with a bunch of new Pokemon. Although not a lot of the meta is going to change, the top core Pokemon will stay the same. I think maybe one or two, like Quagsire and or Alolan Sandslash look good. But I will say, he's straight up are bad. I appreciate that. I'm going to put credit where credit is due.
Keeping a close eye on moving forward. We're continuing to invest in the Play Pokemon series.
True, Harry.
And not just that, but also trying to expand into the more local tournament scene through organized play and all that.
Yeah, we need more info on that.
I guess for people who don't know, the Play Pokemon series is Play Pokemon series TM is you can go to your local game shop to play. It's usually TCG, VGC sort of stuff. You can play locally, earn points to compete at Worlds, or even just meet your locals. So is that something where Go is going to have a chance to do?
Yes, and it's already live.
I've noticed my area has one of the Pokestops for a Play Pokemon store.
Yeah,
which is cool.
And we want to expand it, but
I wonder if there's any in Ottawa. Some Pokemon Go. Yeah, if you don't know, there's regional, there's local tournaments you can now compete in to get CP and stuff for the regionals, which is nice. It actually is decent. That's actually a nice addition. I feel like there's just not enough information on it
before we run, and my team especially is working very closely with the Pokemon Company International to really build out that program, because we do see that as a great funnel to get more players interested in PvP and get into that game loop.
is the ideal that people could, earn play points like how it is in
Oh,
the
yeah.
main series to go, oh, cool.
Yeah, and currently you can.
Oh, really? I
But
didn't
there
know
just
that.
aren't as many
In Go?
local. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Like there needs more information about this. Zoe doesn't even know about this. I knew about it, but like I don't even know where they're going down. But yeah, you can actually get points to go to Worlds at your locals.
Well, you can earn points to the
Oh, maybe not.
the international.
Okay, I actually don't know if you can get points for Worlds, but apparently you can get for internationals, NAIC and stuff.
Championships.
Right.
Yeah.
That's still pretty massive. Like if you were
Yeah.
someone who is rural as hell,
Right.
earn points, get to international and
Yep.
win, you're going to get flown to...
Exactly. Next, that's a good point. Like a dev diary about play Pokemon and stuff like that could be a nice little addition. Good point. Next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's been a massive thing as well, like from my perspective where PvP can be, you can have your spicy picks, you could have
Right.
a team of whatever random stuff, but
Yeah.
being able to afford to go to a regionals and fly there is sometimes impossible
It's a lot
for some
for
people.
for sure.
If
Yeah.
you were able to earn the points too.
Yeah,
cool,
like I said, it's
Yeah.
live right now. It just went live pretty recently. I think we want to grow that program so that there are more locations for
Yep.
players to go and participate in. But yeah, that's an area where we definitely want to continue investing in. This might be a little bit, into too much into the sausage making and whatnot, but really diehard PvP players would know that last year we actually invested a lot of our development resources into making the core foundation of PvP a lot more stable. I think at the start of 2022, there were a lot of bugs that just
I can't really speak on this.
made
Battle lag.
right.
If Yonkis is here, I'm sure you can
And
tell.
if you
his
compare the PvP system right now to where it was, a year ago, it's actually come quite a long way, and that's because we did invest a lot into the system and making it better at its foundational core last year.
There was the recent weird bugs, but then like since 2 weeks ago, I've been doing some battles and it's been smooth. Was there just like a bit of a revert whatever was making those bugs? Or?
And just like anything else in the game, sometimes an unintended bug can come out with a release.
Yeah, personally, like, obviously I don't play PvP as much as most people, but personally, I do feel like compared to last year or like whenever before, it used to be a lot more buggy. But now when I do my PvP streams and my battles, as long as I have a decent internet connection, it's usually not too bad, but that's not going to be for everybody.
We'll usually try to
there's
patch
still
those
a
up
lot
as
of
soon
bugs.
as we can.
So I don't know if I just missed like the, hey, trainers, like we've sorted it out, or if there even was.
We usually try to keep the
right before
known
Worlds.
issues page as up to date as possible. I can't, say for certain if that specific one was updated
So I
in
haven't
there,
personally
but
seen it,
right,
that bug
right.
in a little while. But I was like, okay, that was
It should be
quicker than expected.
patched.
could
Yeah,
be.
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to sort of the development investment, right now we're focused on trying to build out the Play Pokemon series. Last year, our big focus was strengthening the foundation of PvP so that it was a more consistent experience for players. And that's kind of where our head's at currently.
Okay, so overall, they say they're putting a lot into PvP right now. Like, that's a goal, which again is interesting because it doesn't really promote IRL.
I think there's also more that we can do in terms of Go Battle League and, making that a little bit more exciting for players. And that's something that, we're talking about regularly within the team. Again, I can't really announce anything here.
Yeah.
But, I hear you, person who wrote this question, and
Okay.
I feel that. Just know that, especially when it comes to the local tournaments and all that, we feel like that is sort of the total manifestation of what our vision is, right? Getting people out in person, battling each other and duking it out, and like the sort of camaraderie and bond that comes from that. I think anybody who's in the PvP community feels that bond with the overall PvP player base.
That is true. When I was at the regionals, there's a lot of people. It's a tight knit community, but Go Battle League doesn't make sense in that aspect.
So we really do want to grow that, but we currently, the top priority there is to build that out with the Pokemon Company International, and get even more integrated into
I'm all for
what they
PvP,
have going
so.
on globally.
Yeah, I was even surprised, like so I wasn't able to make it for the Sydney internationals because the Vegas thing, they ended up clashing because of a date change.
Yep.
But I was actually genuinely surprised to see like that there was the casters were out here, the live stream
Yep.
was out here, like all that sort of extra, like, okay, like,
Yeah, and I do want to give a ton of credit
Yeah.
to the Pokemon Company International, right? They fully operate all of those tournaments. We provide some additional support in terms of, you know, fun experiences.
I will say the tournaments are pretty good. I've been to 3. I've been to Toronto, Vancouver, Hartford, and they're all fun. But again, if you can't make it out, it's kind of a little bit trash. Also, they need to change the format. I think it should be round robin because I'm just so bad double elimination. I usually get knocked out.
That players can have in the game. But yeah, shout out to that team because they've really taken that to the
Worlds
next
is
level. And as a fan, I'm watching almost every single regional stream and just
The streams are
really
great.
enjoying it
Yeah.
every single time that we do those. So we want to lean in there. We want to grow that. And, you know, that's kind of where our PvP commitment currently lies.
and even I guess from my perspective of seeing
tired.
Pokemon Go at Worlds last year.
Yeah,
Were you?
I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we're like, hey, crossing.
Yep.
But like that was wild. And even overhearing some people from main series being like, oh, here comes the tap convention sort of thing. And I said I don't even know who they were, but I was like, mate, go to the finals and watch. And if you're not entertained, I'll give you $10.
Right.
Sort of thing. I'm like, you'll pick up.
This is what I'm going to say about Pokemon Go PvP at regionals. It is the most hype to watch. If you watch VGC, if you watch TCG, it's so much slower. Like, make a move, and then like once in a while, maybe like in cards, he pulls the perfect card to win. But Pokemon Go is nonstop action. When I was at Hartford Regionals and I was playing some matches or I was hanging around, it would always be the loudest when you would hear the Pokemon Go fans like yelling because someone made like a huge play on stream. So there is a lot of hype to Pokemon Go and a lot of plays you can make, and it's actually a very enjoyable thing to watch, in my opinion.
Up that there's a strategy besides tapping
Yeah.
in shields, and they were like, all right. Literally ran into them at the finals, and they were like, holy, like that was why
Exactly.
because they just had never
Yep.
played it. They're just doing main series or cards.
Yeah.
But the genuine entertainment when there were even, you know, it wasn't necessarily even the finals matches, but because it's up on the big screen,
Yeah.
everyone's like stopping what they're doing to watch.
Yep.
You can hear these cheers from the
It's very
crowd.
easy
like,
to
I'm
watch too, because it's like a quick 3-minute game. Like like you can be walking around the area and then you hop in, you check out the game, you see how it ends. Versus like VGC and TCG, like you can't really hop in mix game for that, you know.
curious to see it evolve as an esport for sure, because there is,
Yeah.
it's got legs.
I know.
Yeah,
me
tennis
too.
versus
Yeah.
golf.
I always
Agreed.
joke that I'll actually, you know, quit my job at Niantic to
Compete.
to
so that you
compete.
can
Yeah, I really want to get in
go
there.
on a 1-year
Yeah.
hiatus so that you're allowed to
Michael
compete.
Sorenka
Like,
competing.
well, someone actually asked me one of the events, like, oh, why didn't you compete? I'm like, I don't know if I can, if it's like a conflict because I'm a creator. But they're
I
like,
think you totally
"No,
can.
I'm apparently
Yeah.
I'm allowed. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
You can, Zoe.
whoops. It's because I'm not good at PvP. Like, you know, I've got to bring my Detonate, max it out.
Detonate. Is that how you say it? Detonate?
What do you envisage the game looking like in
Might be
the next 1 to
actually.
2 years?
I don't know. What's the question?
And, you know, do you think the goal is achievable considering, I guess, the current player mood?
I
I
mean,
guess we kind of almost talked about that for what you've said for this year coming up.
yeah.
It's going to be a lot of get out and go.
Right. And in terms of the next 1 to 2 years, we're actually focused on a longer term horizon a lot of times. And this year is going to be our 7th anniversary in Pokemon Go. That means we're coming up on a decade, you know, a 10-year anniversary in the not so distant
God,
future.
yeah.
That's not so distant future, I guess, but 3 years is a long time.
And something we've referred back to a lot within the team is that initial announced trailer for Pokemon Go, right? Like in 2015 or whenever it was announced, maybe it was early 2016. And that really painted this beautiful vision for what this game can be. And when it first came out, you know, it only touched on a few of the things that you could see in that trailer. But if you look back at that trailer now, a lot of the stuff that was in there is now
Is the
come
release
to
trailer?
life in a lot of ways in Pokemon Go. So as a team, we're actually talking about like, what does the next trailer like that look like? And,
Right.
you know, can we imagine what a future beyond where we even are right now can be for this game. And that's such an exciting, headspace to be in. And the
Pokemon
team
Go
that we
VR?
have focused on Pokemon Go is just
I don't know what trailer you're
so
talking
incredibly
about.
talented, so passionate about this. And I am very, very excited and hopeful for the things that we have, not just explicitly in the plan for this year, but also how we're thinking about it long term. And we've only managed to get this far because we've continued to evolve the game over time. We've introduced new exciting ways to engage in Pokemon Go, and that's our continued commitment.
Yeah, I do understand their point. Like, they've introduced stuff, but now it feels like a reverse. You know what I mean? Like, he's saying we've introduced stuff to keep the game interesting all the time, but now they're reversing back to everything pre-COVID after introducing a bunch of stuff to keep the game interesting. So it feels kind of a little bit of a backwards.
Man, I think I've probably
comment.
said this before,
But they have introduced
in
a lot
other
of stuff.
places,
It's a
but
completely
we
different
talk
game.
about Pokemon Go as a forever game at Niantic. That means that we
can
want
be.
people to grow up with this game. We want people to, when you have your own family, to feel comfortable, bringing your kids in to play as well. And as sort of a new father myself, I'm like so excited for my son to
You're gonna play this game,
to
son.
grow up and like take him out on community day and
Come on,
just
son,
sort
let's
of,
play
like,
community day, son.
experience that joy together. And that's not going to happen if this is a game that doesn't last long enough for
Yeah.
that.
Have the longevity to do.
Right.
Yeah.
See how the
I guess
longevity
because
is.
it's quite literally a companion game.
Hard
Yeah.
to say.
It's
Yeah.
like you can be as intense or as casual as you want, but either way, it's like an overlay
Yep.
to your day-to-day life.
Yep. Totally.
Whether that be 1 year, 20 years,
Yeah.
whatever the, yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm like, I'm
Okay.
curious to see
It's not a-
the evolution, and it has come so far as well.
Yeah.
Like genuinely looking back at,
It's not
like scroll back in the playlist of 2016.
Yep.
Like,
Game's not surviving till then.
so many things that just did not exist.
I'll
in
say
the
they
game
still
that
make a lot of
launched
money.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And sometimes I'll meet people who played when Pokemon Go first came out in 2016 and, quit after a couple months and decided to come back for whatever reason years later. And every single time it's like, this isn't even the same game. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
very like core loop of going out and catching Pokemon in the real world is
I'm curious what Dan Ottawa's perspective is on this, because Dan's a dad, and I don't know how old his kids are, but does he play with his kids? Does he force his kids to play?
is the same, but so much has changed and there's like so many new and exciting things to do now that didn't exist back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
AR question.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there any slated update to AR in Go? So
AR.
AR photos and things, or just playing in
What's-
AR
what's
has
coming in
been
AR?
fairly buggy for a while, especially Android. I know there was a time as well where, I know that the AR photo community isn't the majority. I'm a bit biased. I like them. Shout out to the AR photo guy. You like taking photos as well?
I
like
do.
taking
Yeah. I was
photos.
just showing you some of my favorites
Yeah.
yesterday.
I guess there used to be a time as well when the actual camera quality was used for the photos, and now it's the quality of a screenshot.
Yeah, I don't use
And
AR at
little
all.
things like this where it's just not quite optimized. And during the beta for Peridot, I downloaded that Muck. It's like always on AR.
Right.
I was genuinely surprised at I could throw a ball and it would identify the table,
Yeah.
bounce off the table, and
I
then
know.
bounce onto the ground. And I was like, surely that was a mistake. Replicated it multiple
Yeah.
times. Like, okay, it's identifying there's a table there.
Yeah. Yeah.
My little guy can run around
Yep.
under the table and, turn invisible, click
Yep.
it
Wait,
out.
is she talking about Peridot?
And I was like,
Sorry, I zoned out.
so smooth. Why isn't that like, especially because, Niantic is augmented reality.
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon Go is augmented reality.
Yeah.
I personally feel like the AR side of things have, I don't know, been sometimes neglected
Sure.
for Go.
Yep.
Is it
Zoe's an AI,
front
an
of
AR
mind at the
girl
moment,
for
or is
sure.
it more taking a bit of a back seat until other things are developed, I guess, or
Yeah.
once things are tested in Peridot or whatever
Right,
else
right,
that can
right.
cross.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of the ones where I, probably not really much I can say there without hinting at things one way or the other in the future. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to pass on that answer. But yeah, obviously AR is
I guess
important to
is
us
it-
as a company.
Is it front of mind, or at least an aspect of like AR needs a bit of love at the moment? Like there is just some buggy, like even just for taking a photo, like I have to open up the game in the Google Store version, not the Galaxy
Just ask if
version,
it's front of
because in
mind.
Galaxy I can't even place a Pokemon because it will just float
right.
away into the
Pokemon Go AR
universe
glasses.
every time.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's not one I'll be able to
Okay.
answer today.
That's fair.
But yeah.
I
Okay, so you
appreciate
just
it.
can't
Yeah,
Well,
for
I'm
sure.
gonna. Hello, Michael. There's some
Can't
things that
answer
need to be
if it's
looked at
front
for
of mind.
AR. If you
Like,
can
is
let the
that not a
team know,
yes
I
or no
greatly
question?
appreciate
I'll pass
it.
that
Thank you.
feedback
Thank you.
along. Yeah.
Thank you. All good.
Okay, so no love for AR.
This one was an
Or maybe
interesting
there
one.
is, I
If
don't
you could go back in Pokemon Go history and change one thing, what would it be? I mean, even if you would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pokemon Go history change one.
And candidly, it's obviously a hot button issue right now, but I think the way we rolled out remote raid passes initially is probably one that was maybe too hastily done, and I don't think we fully thought through the long-term consequences of that.
Yeah, this is the point I make. Remote raid passes were amazing for the game, but also could really, really hurt the game because now you're removing them. They definitely should have thought more about how it was going to go down. What type of play styles could it make? Is it something I really want? It felt like remote raid passes introduced all sorts of new players who could not play Pokemon Go to the game, all these features, and then now you're just taking that all away. I think Pokemon Go, they wouldn't be in as much of a bad position if they had just struggled through COVID and not introduced all these features. You know what I mean?
And of course, the mind.
It would have been better. Like, I love remote raid passes, but if Niantic wanted to be in the situation they would be in a lot better of a situation if they had just never introduced remote raid passes and never got all these new people playing because of remote raids, and then now they're just kind of like losing all those people. You know what I mean?
Mindset at the time was, how long is this COVID thing going to last anyways, right? And you can imagine it was like it was an existential crisis for a game that was built on going out and exploring. So we had to do something. We had to
Absolutely.
make
I think considering the turnaround time as well that it was incredibly quick.
Yeah.
Like, in a great way for what the community needed at the time as well, like a way to play and engage with the game. But
totally.
Obviously the trade-off is then the long term.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so at the time, it was never expected that was going to be something that players would have for long enough to get used to. And so I don't think we really put a lot of the safeguards in place that we maybe might have with perfect hindsight right now.
I agree.
And yeah, we're paying the price right now. You know, we
100%.
have
It's been a long Band-Aid.
It's been a long Band-Aid.
It's a really, like,
and
whole leg Band-Aid,
yeah, and you know, you probably ended up getting like infected on that.
I think they 100%, like, if they, like, I don't know how it would have happened, like, because there's a pandemic, people can't raid, but I'm very curious to see where Pokemon Go would be right now if remote raids and all these accessibility features were never added. Because Pokemon Go went against their motto. They added all these features to keep making money during the pandemic, keep the game alive. But now it's biting them. It's hurting them. It's hurting them.
A wound from the Band-Aid just being there forever. But so
I mean,
if I had to pick one thing, I would say that, you know,
how it would have been implemented would have been differently.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't
I would
say
agree. I
like
don't
we
think you
shouldn't have launched remote raid.
Oh, I think you should
I
have
think it
launched
was
them.
actually a great thing to add to the game, and I still think it's a great item to have in the game.
I think
right
it is
now.
a great
It's
item.
just-
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, the way that we did it probably
think you would have been in a
didn't
better
take
scenario.
into account the long-term repercussions.
That's even something I've been discussing with people like in the last few weeks, where it's like if it was launched with a limit, you know, it'd be a totally different conversation right now.
Right.
If it was only a price increase, but we'd always had a limit.
Right.
I think because for a lot of people it became the majority way to engage with raids.
Yep.
Now that it is,
And
it's
the
such
majority
a big
way
change
to
after 2
engage
to
with
3
Pokemon
years.
Go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
There are a lot of people that became how
Your
you
thing.
played most of how you spent most of your time in Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
So, of course, super painful, you know. But
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good answer. I appreciate it. Is there a feature that you would like to see added that isn't currently slated for development? So this is like, I guess, you know.
I started playing at the start of COVID. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for remote raids. Yeah, so that's the thing. Is like there's so many new players playing because of remote raids. Now the question is, are these players going to continue playing because of remote raids? Was it a good thing because they pulled in all these players with the remote raid thing, and then now these players are going to be forced to go outside, and in the end, their mission will be successful? Or will it just be a fact that they pulled in a bunch of new players to play for 2 years during COVID who couldn't play before, and then now the remote raids are nerfed? Those people are just going to quit. So it's like you got more players for 2 years and more money, but then now you're just losing all those players and potentially even losing more in the backlash.
Is this? I guess
I feel like I
that's
can't
the thing,
answer
you
that
can't
with
either,
that
'cause
telling
then it would be like
you,
it's
yeah.
not slated for. Okay,
Feature
is
you
there
wanna
a
see
feature that you
added
would
to
like to see
Pokemon
added to
Go?
the game? Whether or not it's this is totally not a wink wink nudge nudge, but it's something that you, Michael, would like to see as a thing, whether or not it is or isn't.
Yeah,
Or is it
I
still
feel like I
too
can't,
close without it?
Okay, so
because
just
now it would be a
answers.
hint one way or the other, you
Yeah,
know, like,
Michael
oh, maybe
said
this
that
is,
the-
right,
yeah,
right,
right.
right.
Yeah.
There's 8 minutes left of this video, by the way, chat.
But
We're almost done.
I guess the answer that I can give you is I don't think there's one thing. There are lots of awesome ideas that we've talked about internally, and it just becomes an exercise of prioritization, right? What do we want to focus on next? Because there's no shortage of great ideas.
Yeah.
And if I had just sort of a magic wand that I can wave, there'd be like 20 new awesome things to go out, tomorrow. But yeah, it's kind of like we're working within the confines of,
I think the team is
real
pretty
world.
small.
And, so it's just a matter of sequencing.
Have you ever had like a feature that's coming up where you're like, oh, here it comes, and then it gets pushed back because of
Because from what I've heard, the team at Niantic is pretty small. So I'd be very curious if they make a lot of money, right? So I don't see why they wouldn't be able to hire more people and then just like get more and more features coming out. I guess that could make it more complicated because the bigger your team is, the more glitches and bugs you could potentially get.
priority things, or and you don't have to say what it is, but like, have there been things where you're like, oh, just where things do change dynamically for those sorts of things?
I think that happens all the time, actually. There are lots of things where, we initially were thinking about it one way, and that sort of changed over time. And because of that, we had to make pivots and delay the launch of certain things. But I always think it's in the best interest of those features and in our players, right? Because if we develop something that doesn't give the right experience that we're trying to make, then we shouldn't just put it out there for the sake of launching it. We should probably reassess and build it in a different way.
Nice. Yeah. What is the best part of
I don't know
working
what that
at
question is.
Niantic, or your personal?
What is this best
favorite
part of
bit?
working at Niantic? Let's see.
Can I cheat and give you two answers to that?
No, yeah, of course. Yeah. Yes.
I think one of my favorite things about working at Niantic is the team that I get to work with. We genuinely have some of the smartest, most passionate people that I've ever had the pleasure of working with in my life. And I think because of that, we all push each other to be better, and and everybody holds themselves accountable
This is a question
for
from Zoe?
making this
Or the community?
a better experience for players. And so that type of camaraderie and team dynamic is something I think, people normally dream of having, and it's not something to take for granted.
Okay.
So that's probably number one.
Shout out to the
favorite thing.
team, I guess.
But the second is one that I touched on a bit earlier, which is that Niantic is one of, I feel like, the few companies out there that I can say genuinely is mission driven to our core. And I can wake up every morning.
It seems it.
Sometimes after an incredibly,
But also not fully, because
long work day the previous day, an incredibly stressful time, feeling good about the fact that the product, the game that we're making,
true. You guys
actually
are not
improves
selling out, it
people's
seems,
lives.
from what I
We get
understand.
countless letters written to us of people talking about how Pokemon has made such a positive impact on their lives, and in ways that I feel like isn't common in a lot of other, especially gaming companies. And
Positive and negative.
I think it's because we're able and willing to make these mission-driven decisions.
That is true. It is a very healthy game.
Knowing that, like, that's the end purpose of Pokemon Go, is to help people get out there, meet other people around them, right? Especially in sort of this day and age where being online can be so polarizing, sometimes so toxic. It's such a breath of fresh air when you
Twitter,
can
bro.
actually meet people.
I don't know
real
why
life.
Niantic chose their main source of info as Twitter. That's the most toxic place on the earth. If they didn't want it to be so toxic, they should not have chosen Twitter as their main, because most of the communication for Pokemon Go is through Twitter.
World and create those connections. And there's really no other game or no other company that does that. And I genuinely love being able to say that I do that and I can make a positive impact in the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, solid answer.
Zoe likes the
appreciate it.
answer. That's definitely her
Is
question.
there?
for
I've
sure.
got one more question.
Sure.
But is there anything that you just wanted to add that we haven't gone over today, or the?
Anything he wants to add. Let's see what he's got to add.
I guess just, I know that things can be really tense and tough and people feel so passionately about this game. And
Yes.
that's a big reason why people can sometimes get super upset. And, because this game has been a part of so many people's lives. And when you make a big drastic change, that's not what people want. It's no wonder when people can get really emotional about that stuff. And I just want players to know that ultimately we have your best intentions at heart, and we know that this has really set back a lot of the trust and whatnot that people.
You have a couple people's best intentions at heart, but you clearly don't have everybody's, because you're not making any changes for Disabled Rule and all those people. You cannot say that. That you can't say. Because you clearly have the best intentions of the people who can play Pokemon Go how you want the game to be played. Those are the intentions you have for those people. But everybody else
will have in Niantic, and we're going to be working hard over the next however long it takes to earn that trust back. And
so I don't think you have everybody's best
I
intentions
hope
at
that
heart.
people will take that leap of faith with us and continue to be on this journey with us, because I do think that the future is bright. And I hope that we can continue to, just build.
That's just one point
such a
there.
cool
You can't say that,
experience
because
you
you've made
can't
this
get
whole
anywhere else.
time, you've said that you're sacrificing things for certain players.
The final question was, are you excited for the future of Pokemon Go, or only or just hopeful?
Oh, I'm genuinely excited.
Okay, he's
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. I mean, I'm both. I'm also hopeful too, but I have the the fortune of knowing the things that we have that we're working on, and and they're not going to be hits for every single person. You can't please everybody out there. We have such a broad player base,
different flavors.
But yeah, we've got such cool things in the works that I think are going to blow people away. And I know that some people can be snarky about that, and trust me, I've seen the memes and the like clowning on me on Twitter and whatnot. But I think for the most part, we'll have
Twitter
some
is not a good spot,
great
bro.
things to share with players.
That's where you're going to get the most
looking forward to
toxic
it.
feedback.
Me too.
I appreciate you taking the
Okay, is that it?
long
Final
time to sit down and chat and
An hour and 20.
be candid and
Yeah.
put yourself out there to the community. And
Totally.
I hope that you guys appreciate
Shout out Zoe. I will give
what's been conversed
pause.
today. And
Again, even if
would
it's
definitely love
scripted,
to have you
even
back
if
on
it's
again in the
whatever.
future or
Yeah,
however
and-
Even if it's scripted, whatever, at least we got this. I'm always down for an interview. I'm always down for some more information. Thank you to Zoe and Michael for taking the time. Whether we like what he said or not, it is out there, which is a good thing.
I'm hoping that, I know one of the biggest criticisms that we get is the lack of communication and whatnot. And that can be really tough at times, but I hope that this is something that, we can do more of. And that
Please.
even if you disagree with decisions that we make, that at least players can understand why and can, hopefully come on board with us for the journey, knowing that, there's real, legitimate, and valid reasons, for these tough decisions that we make sometimes. So,
That's fair. Thank you.
yeah, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Welcoming me to the community out here. giving me everybody's luck so that I could catch all the best
Get some spicy
Mewtwo's
shinies.
today. Yeah.
Well, we don't know. Everyone could have had better luck while we've been in here
That's
chatting.
true.
For
That's true.
however long. Secretly, they've all got like 500 shinies.
I
now,
hope
and we've
so.
got
I don't
catch
want to
up.
leave here with just the entire Sydney community hating me.
No, I think you'll be
for,
fine, man.
yeah.
As long as Fleece gets one, he'll sort it out. He'll be okay.
Bro, Fleece has
All
8
good.
billion probably.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. This
Wait,
is
hold
just
on.
an automatic
Bonus
daily,
question. Alan, do you have any questions for Michael?
Jesus.
Can we put a thing in the shop that gets rid of the earn a heart with your buddy for 30 days?
No.
Sorry, honey.
Wait, what task is that? Okay. A lot to unpack, chat. A lot to unpack. Oh my god. That was whew. That was quite a thing. So yeah, first of all, honestly, like huge shout out to Zoe and Michael for doing that. That's always nice to have that. What I would say about all of this is my number one point that I think I've gotten from this. It is clear after this interview, it wasn't as clear before, but it is clear after this interview, if you are disabled, rural, and cannot play Pokemon Go how they want you to play the game, Niantic doesn't care about you. That's what I have gotten from this interview. It is 100%. That's like kind of what I understand. So if you are one of those people, just know that now when you play Pokemon Go, you can choose to quit, you can choose to stop, or if you're playing that, just know that features are never going to be made for you. You know what I mean? Like, don't waste your mental space. Well, you can fight it, but fighting this company and hoping that they're going to make more changes to help accessibility is just not, unfortunately, it feels like a losing battle. It feels like a losing battle. But yeah, Niantic does not care about accessibility. There's a lot of other takeaways. PvP, a lot of good stuff coming out of that interview as well. But I will say, if you are one of those people, just think about it. Because I would hate people to be continuously wasting their happiness and their brain power fighting for this company that will 100% all the time push for their motto. So yeah, but if you don't mind, if you know that, hey, I'm a rural player, I know this game's not going to be perfect for me, I'm a disabled player, I know features are never going to be like that, I'm going to play as much as I can. If you don't mind, keep playing. Again, at the end of the day, you guys, I'm not trying to get people to quit. A lot of people are having this theory that I'm trying to ride off this train of the remote raid pass and making... First of all, I've made 2 videos on the topic. Maybe 3. I made one when the video was announced, one about the Heroes Niantic, one about the answer, technically 4. One about when the change was announced, one about the Heroes Niantic movement, one about the answer to Heroes Niantic movement, and then number 4, I made a video about the history of Pokemon Go, which technically doesn't even count. I'm not trying to say Pokemon Go is dead or dying. I'm just saying any players who joined Pokemon Go during COVID-19 enjoyed remote raid passes. Unfortunately, it does not look like the game is heading in that direction, and Niantic doesn't really care. Doesn't really care about those players. So just know that going into it, etc. You have a lot of negative... I don't understand, Nicholas, how I have a lot of negative content. I have made 4... Again, I've made 4 videos on this topic. Other than that, all the videos have been positive. I have a video on Pokecoins, tips and tricks, how to create Pokestops, Shadow Mewtwo. I have plenty of positive videos. I'm sorry if it seems like the videos have been negative. Obviously, like mentioned in the stream or the thing, there's been an overall, sadness for the game. But again, I'm not trying to say it's negative. I'm just trying to tell it to you guys how it is. It's straight up like this. If you're a rural player, whatever, it is what it is. It is what it is. Niantic is going to continuously push in-person events and all that stuff. So, yeah. That's all I'm going to say. If you have anything you want to say, let me out now. I'm going to react some comments. And then we're going to call it. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream nonetheless. Again, you can check out the full video. Give Zoe a like. Because, shout out to Zoe for sitting down and doing it. But watch PokeAK if you think that's negative. I'm trying to stay on top of the content. Bro, the thing is about the video where I made yesterday where I talked about the history of Pokemon Go. It wasn't ever meant to be like a video about Heroes Niantic. It was just about a video about the rise and fall of Pokemon Go and how it was huge in 2016 and has been on a slow decline since then. Interview didn't get any information. Again, we got plenty of fun videos coming out, chat. I just want to say that as well. Some huge fun things. I'm going to Vancouver again. I'm going back to Vancouver the 10th to the 16th. We got an in-person event in Ottawa. A lot of fun stuff coming out. It's going to be great. Yeah, just like Mystic's video. Dude, I was actually cheesed. When I saw Mystic post that video the day before, I was like, no. Me and Mystic ended up making the same video. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love your channel. I've been a subscriber since you hit 100K. I just noticed more negatively lately. I understand. Trying to be positive. All of you. Again, one thing I'll say about people saying I'm too negative, I'm just saying it how it is. I'm not going to fake my positivity. If people are saying I'm being negative, it's because that's how I feel, right? I always try to say it to you guys straight, give you guys how I'm actually feeling. I'm never trying to fake anything. So if I'm in a general negative mood, I'm sorry. It's just kind of how it's going to be until I regain my love for Pokemon Go, because I don't want to fake anything. You know what I mean? Brock with the 17-month subscription to actually have a very good take. Sometimes the community is weird. You're doing a great job with what you have, bud. Thanks for the bangers. Shout out, Brock. Appreciate it. Also, was there a second subscription? No. Appreciate it. Okay. Whatever. Not enough about the negative talk. I appreciate you guys all. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Yeah. That's all I gotta say. If you're just know that Pokemon Go is not making features for you, and they don't really care too much about you. That's what I would say. As people there, I struggle PvP. PvP with Dan Ottawa. I'm glad you enjoyed that video. We got a lot of fun videos coming out. Love to all the trainers. Yeah. Nonetheless, I appreciate you all, guys. I have a lot of fun content coming. Don't be fearing that, the channels. Again, the game is not dying. I don't think the game is dying. It's going to lose a lot of players, yes, but I don't think the game is dying. It's got just such a strong backing, and it's just such a unique game. It's really hard to kill. But obviously, a lot of the people who played with us during COVID are probably going to be starting to quit because they can't play as much. So just know that. Please, just know that. That's it. Okay. Stay tuned. Many fun videos coming out, guys. I'm going to go pick up my girlfriend because we're hanging out today. That's all I got to say. Okay. I love you all. By the way, Mega Swampert counters are coming out. For the summer, I'm going to try to make counter guides for the Mega Pokemon. I know a lot of people have been requesting it. Your requests are being answered. Mega guide for Mega Swampert is coming out on how to counter it. It is soloable, by the way, which is fun. Okay, that's it. Adios, guys. We'll see you all in the next one. Everybody. Peace.